Greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the honor and the blessings that you deserve from the infinite Creator. I greet you with the love and the honor that you deserve and the respect that you deserve. And I thank every one of you for tuning in, hanging out with me, and for your comments, your love, and um, and your friendship. Thank you very much. So, this particular topic, I've sort of broached it. I don't know, months ago, maybe even a year ago, about faith. And I was using faith more in what do you have, if you have faith in Jesus or do you have faith in Christianity and so in this discussion, I would like to bring about, because there's been so much time elapsed since that last video that I did about faith in Jesus and Christianity. I thought that it would bear a little bit of discussion to discuss it from a so many people are losing faith in things these days. I have discussed my previous, Catholic background. I graduated from Tampa Catholic High School in 1970, and have had a history of pedophilia with four different priests in the Tampa area. And so I lost my faith in the Catholic Church, but I never lost my faith in Christ or in Mother Mary or in at what I considered God at that time. Now, as a 17-year-old, young person back in the 60s and 1970, the prospects and what the world looked like was totally different from what it is now. So during my 66 years on this planet, I have um, always been looking to strengthen my faith. And so many things over the years, like the decline of the Catholic Church, other different things that are just going on in the world, my faith in government, elections, So the idea of what is faith, and faith in what? Faith in your government, faith in your family, faith in your friends, faith in yourself, faith in the universe, faith in God, faith in the creator, faith in, so the idea of faith in itself, it it has a broad uh, stroke or an area to be discussed. So I want to kind of sort of not necessarily stick to, but kind of sort of stick to the spiritual side of things. And I'm sure that I will touch on in other areas because these other areas will have an effect. For example, if we don't trust our politicians, or if we don't trust the government, and if we don't trust this and that, we get cynical. So it's harder for us to believe in certain other things that maybe, in the Christian religion, it's the Bible. And so you read things and your interpretation of those things. I know that when I read things at 16, 15, and 16 years old in the Catholic Church as an altar boy and a sort of a deacon, if you will, when the Catholic Church turned around and started facing the parishioners instead of the old style. But anyway, with that, a lot of people lost their faith. And that was what it would have been about 65, 66. Things literally started turning around. And there was an ecumenical council in 1964, I do believe it was. A lot of things were changed. A lot of stuff went on. There was the third letter of Fatima that came out, and just a lot of things that went on that made a lot of us folks who grew up during that lose faith. Okay, so there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, because there's a big history here. Now, many of my classmates who still believe in things have more faith in the church than I do, because I looked at church and I said, I cannot say a prayer because I don't have faith in you any longer. And so I went and searched for more spiritualism, something that I could relate to, that I could have faith in inside myself, that I could have faith in the Creator without having to read a bunch of mumbo jumbo or say any particular prayer or to worship any kind of deity or anything like that. And so, in my discussions over these last several years with the videos that I've done, I've discussed these different things. And so, as a shaman, one of the things that you need to do is you need to find faith. Now, as a human being, you say, well, okay, I can have faith in this and I can go to church. And I got to say that there were times when I went to church and it was literally half assed. I know people who go to church who literally do it half assed. And I mean that in actually kind of sort of in a respectful kind of way because they don't know how else to act. They see the system, they understand that they should be spiritual beings, and they are so distracted with life in general that they don't have the time or maybe possibly the inclination to go searching for that higher self being, that higher um, soul being that I know that we all are, especially when we understand what our potential is. So having faith in the system where there is no system, for example, the universe, my discussions about the universe, you must have faith that Mother Nature really is an entity in itself. You must understand that all things are connected in the quantum reality. If you're, in these current days. Of course, now I want to say here that the word quantum has been around for almost 150 years. So some of these things that I discuss with you, you may say, well, he's using these great big words like quantum and this and that. And quite frankly, as I started doing my own digging, and thank goodness for the internet and a lot of things, you have to have discernment. But when I look at, a general variety of, reading several books, a lot of different articles, looking at different points of view, checking in different areas, looking in libraries, cross referencing things, I realize that some of these things have been around for a long time in science and in the. I have difficulty with using the word supernatural because people think spirits, ghosts, goblins, ghouls, things like that. Yeah, well, there is that. But let's discuss the super as in natural. So, those things which we normally have are natural abilities. If we learn how to run a little faster, if maybe we start off and we can only run, 100 yards without, uh, getting winded, bending over, and having a an internal catastrophe go on. But at the same time, you say, well, let me think about this. Let me cogitate on this little subject here. So, but if you practice, like for example, yoga, maybe I know that I would had gained 75 pounds, and was at 250 pounds. I'm now about 175. And so I look at myself and I think to myself, oh my God, I couldn't, I had trouble putting on my shoes, which is like, but wait a minute. Now I used to be 130 pounds soaking wet with rocks in my pockets. Hey, Marie, how are you? Um, Good day to you, matey. Or are you a Sheila? Not quite sure how that You watch movies, you don't know whether or not the vernacular is correct. But anyway, greetings, Marie. But in this idea of faith, thank you. I can hear you laughing on the other side of the planet. Thumbs up to you. Hope things are going as well as possible in your world. But and having faith in things. So it's like, all right, let's, I can only Sheila. Yeah, I got that from Crocodile Dundee. We all watch the Croc Hunter during the day, during them times, Anyway, I used to do a fair to middling accent back in the day, but raining today. Well, I understood that you all could use some rain down there, so that's actually a good thing. I'm hoping. We're expecting rain these next few days. It was like 88 degrees yesterday and today. It's middle of February in South Georgia. It's snowing just north of us, raining just north of us, and we're in a heat wave down here. I've got the windows open and the fans on, and I'm going, what? you know, uh, it was almost too hot to go outside and work today. In fact, I went out for a while and had to come back in. I was like, we were having, highs of 55 and now it's 88 degrees. And I'm like, what the hell happened to spring? Of course, we will have another cold spell, but anyway. Uh, so with that, back on topic though, I'm easily distracted, as you all know. But thank you, Marie. Um, Seasons out. Yep, yep. Everything's out of whack. Which is another subject for about the universe. I've noticed when I could see through the clouds that the moon has been extremely high in the sky, and also that Orion seems to be a little bit too low in the sky. And then tonight, when I checked it, it's the Orion's back up, and so is the Dog Star. So it's like, man, the planet Earth, she's still wobbling a good bit. So, but with the universe and having faith in things, I stopped and realized that with all the things that have happened in my life, in history, in politics, and science, and so many things. I mean, I studied physics, 101 especially. And I've been a fan of it. I'm not much of a math person, but give me a formula and I'll do my best to follow it. I understand that, this is that times this, in parenthesis times divided by okay dokie. I get that. And stress and strength of materials. I had to take all that in my 2-year college course that I took and graduated. But with that said, though, so many things that I learned then are like, well, wait a minute, these aren't like new ideas. They knew this 150 years ago, and I'm like, they knew this in the middle, and they knew some of these things in the 1830s and 1840s. This is 2019, and some of these things are just now being discussed. So when we think about supernatural, it's just more, it's above average basically, but without throwing in all this spiritualism and ghouls and goblins and that kind of spiritualism. But the thing is that we are still speaking about being higher than normal, because if you're studying at all to be a religious person or a higher being or a Buddhist or Christian or whatever, or just a higher vibrational being, for with this transition that's coming, that we're in the middle of right now. Actually, we've had some high Schumann resonance these last couple of days. We just had a small spike these last couple of hours, and there's sort of a little spike going on right now. And a lot of other scientists are starting to speak about the Schumann now. It's showing up in other science shows. And I'm not to toot my own horn, but I've been speaking about this for well over a year now, about the Schumann and what the magnetics and all these things are having an effect on the Earth. And without showing you the charts, and everybody can go look and that. But it's interesting that there are other quote smart people who are starting to pick this thing up and go, these cosmic energies, they're having an effect on the earth. Oh my God. And other folks are starting to watch the Schumann resonance. And I sit back and chuckle and go, he. I've been listening to the creator, and creator said, go look at these things. And because I have faith in this higher self is what led me to start looking at the Schumann resonance and to start having these conversations about this. And it's not that I'm any brighter or smarter than the next guy, it's that I pay attention to the quantum, to the quantum radio, to the angel radio, to higher self, however you want to describe it. And so the thing that I can say is I've been just getting better at listening to the universe, quite frankly. So, and it pleases me, proud as punch, to see that other people are starting to catch on that yes, these frequencies are having an effect on all of us. And I'm just like thumbs up, so it's not about me being right, but I am glad that I am right. I got to say that. I got to throw that in. I'm really happy that other folks are starting to talk about this, because then it validates what the types of things that I've been discussing. But anyway, and as you've all known, this is not about me, it's about what's going on. It's about how it affects us, and it is all about how we deal with this, and etc. I'm always looking for, especially these last 7 8 months now, since the middle of last year, I'm always searching for a solution out of this, not to just be a watchman and go, well, this, we got earthquakes. Well, now I don't have any solutions except move out of earthquake zones if you can. Pay attention to where you live, but that's part of the watchman job. But in other things, and as far as being spiritual and so forth, I've tried to give solutions to things. So I'm always asking, okay, show me what you got and what may be coming, but give me solutions that I can discuss with other people so that we can talk about this. So that's the reason I'm bringing this up about faith. Now, many of us have lost so much faith. I see some people and they're struggling to go, why should I bother? Why should I have faith in the government again? For example, a lot of discussion. Bernie Sanders is running again. He ticked me off last election. You think I'd send that old geezer $1 this time around? Nah. Oh, now he's going to run as a Democrat. Oh yeah. He dropped out of the race. He cowered below Hillary and the rest of them. And even Trump said during the election, he said, Bernie, why don't you run as an independent? You'd probably win. And I went, what? I mean, even Donald Trump told Bernie during the elections, get away from Hillary, run by yourself. You'd probably win, and everybody thought that was a joke, and the Republicans were going, you're actually promoting Bernie Sanders? Well, but anything better than Hillary. But to the point, though, would I trust that old geezer now? Absolutely not. I lost my faith in him because of how he acted. Now, does Bernie still have some decent ideas? Yes. But at the same point, his ideas have gone bonkers. The rich people are talking to him now because he's not an independent anymore, and he's going to run as a Democrat. I know I'm getting political here, but to the point, though, in that I've lost my faith. If he were still independent, I might have actually sent him a buck. But no, no, I've lost my faith in that. So we've all lost faith in so many respects, in so many levels, on so many things. They can use these forces, which have been preserved through the ages, to their own advantage over the population. Yes, Marie. But these energies are energies that are beyond anyone's control on this planet. The energies I'm discussing, the cosmic energies. And that's why the Schumann resonance is doing what it's doing. Now, with that said, there are higher beings that are allowing these cosmic energies to affect us on Earth, but they ain't a dang thing the good guys or the bad guys can do about it, except hang on. Now, it has been said that these higher resonances, and the chart, when you look at the Schumann resonance, goes up to about 45 ish, and the chart's been spiking down into the 60s. So um, I have actually felt like my insides were jiggling. I envisioned myself inside a microwave and watching a potato or whatever heat up. And I envisioned that that's what's happening to me or us. And the other day it was like, oh my God, I just felt like I was a piece of popcorn. And in theater, there used to be they still do it. It's sort of like, okay, I want you to act like a piece of bacon frying in a pan. And so you lay down on the stage floor and you act like a piece of bacon frying, shriveling, and years ago there was a commercial about that. It was like, ooh, sizzle, snap, look at me shrink. And it had to do with different kinds of bacon. Anyway, but to the point though, um, our faith has been challenged in so many ways. Our energies have been shifted by the cosmos. It's also being tinkered with by our cell phones and cell towers and radio waves and, electronic devices. And if people only knew, every time you plug in one of those little transformers to bring down your house voltage to plug in your phone, those are little transmitters, and you're getting beamed not only by your radio phone but also by the EMFs and so forth that every one of those transformers are emitting. And so it's like it's really crazy. It really is. And all of these new um, LED lights all have transformers in the bulb. So it's not, and the LED light is actually having an effect on our eyes and our brains. And it's affecting our vision of what reality actually is, even within this, our own, um, yeah, surrounded by antennas. Absolutely. Thank goodness I live where I do at the bottom of this hill. It's really crappy to get. Yeah, I've got a cell phone, but I don't keep it because I don't go out that much anymore. And when I have it, it's easier to use my Wi-Fi than it is a cell phone tower. So it's like it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I'm lucky also in that respect, in that I am also there are antennas nearby, but where my house is, I'm on the back side, so the radio waves actually go above my house, and my house is made out of tin, so instead of so it there's a certain amount of reflection with the radio waves because I chose a tin roof rather than asphalt shingles, which has done me very well over the years. So I got, I still have the same roof on there after 40 years, where a lot of people have had to replace their shingles and they're on their second time of changing shingles on their house. Me, I've got to replace a couple of pieces of tin, but it's been up there for almost 40 years. So what am I complaining? I got to replace a couple of pieces of tin. But anyway, it's not like ripping off an entire roof of shingles, and replacing that. The cost is a lot less and will last a lot longer. But anyway, and tin reflects radio waves, which is bad because inside the house it's difficult to pick up radio. You got to stick an antenna out. Anyway, back to the idea though, that trying to stay on topic with faith, with all the things that have happened in this universe and on this planet and is still happening, many people are looking, well, or I want, wait, let me back this up just a tad. They've lost so much faith. I absolutely believe that they've just given up in having faith in anything. Well, I have faith that I'm going to go to work tomorrow. Well, I'm going to have faith that when I get home, we're going to have cocktails. Well, I got faith in the kids. I don't know. The the faith that they have is in such minuscule, more material kinds of things versus larger universal things. And it's like, well, why, if the Catholic Church is so bad, then why should I believe in any kind of God? Well, I have a spiritual being, but so I read my Bible once in a while. And, but then some of these people, they're so full of themselves. Well, I have Christ on my side and everybody else is going to hell. And it's like you're missing the point. So, in losing their faith, though, I've noticed a lot of other people are kind of hunkering down. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And folks who come on here, Marie, other people, other folks that I see in comments, it's that, they're taking themselves out of the traditional, oh, well, I must have faith, and the idea of worshiping something. Now, I've given my 10-cent point of view about worship, and it was religion who brought up worship. And I've said this before, pagans didn't worship things. They just didn't. They gave honor. They gave respect. They did ceremonies, and they adored the spirits of the universe. In the Christian and other religions, the word, that it got brought up was to worship the Lord, to worship God, to worship this, to work. We, the Lord, Creator, did not ask us to worship Him and or her, it, whatever it is. Worship is a construct of people. So when we drop the word worship and we say, well, I adore the universe, I adore the Creator. Well, in that you're saying, well, I'm giving faith. I'm being humble enough to say there is a higher type of spirit, force, being, or something, not necessarily in control of me, but of a higher sense of reality, and I can feel it in my heart at sometimes. Maybe you're sitting in the middle of the park reading a good book, and you look up and the sky's blue, there's no chemtrails, you take a deep breath, the air's fairly fresh, and there's a sense of being that happens, and it may be short-lived in that particular little short moment of time in a lifetime, but in that you could sense that there was something more in the universe, and something inside of you even if it's just for a few minutes, you have faith in this feeling, and it's like, wow, that really feels good. I really feel good today. There is faith in that. That's where it begins. So as a shaman has to have faith. And it's not a blind faith. It's a knowing faith. You say, well, okay, let me do a ceremony, a fire ceremony. And I'm going to do it in the middle of the afternoon versus at night, and but I'm going to do this ceremony. And I'm just going to point to the four directions. I'm going to give honor to the Creator. No worship, no, quote, sacrifice. If anything, it's a burning of sweet grass, sages, maybe some pine or some spruce or something like that, juniper. And that you give honor to the universe. And you just sit, and when you do so, you just ask the universe to show you something cool. And then when it happens, you go, oh, wow. Now, it could just be a thought. It could be a problem that you've been needing. It could be various things, right? I want to come back up here. Marie says, I've never understood politics. My brother is an activist of the government. It isn't what I've been able to absorb with information. I'm on a different path to him, can only go through what my purpose is. The radio frequencies are artificial and distorts natural Earth frequency. Yes, it does, and I agree with you 100%, um, Marie. And it also messes with our natural frequency, along with the natural frequencies. My roof needs replacing. Had a few holes which my landlords had to fix. Yeah, faith. They lack foundation. Yeah, I lost faith in man's teaching in churches and religions, yet I never lost my wonder and still seeking for that higher purpose, the spirit, love, knowing I am capable of all things, which is in human nature. I don't believe in the product that can be bought and sold. Absolutely, Marie. I agree with you 100%. And that's sort of where I'm coming around to this. See, you lost faith, like I've lost faith in things, like most of the planet has lost faith now. I mean, the yellow vest thing, and it's the protest. I've been protesting certain things. I got pissed off at Walmart years ago, and I haven't been in Walmart in literally dang near a year. I've found other stores to where I can purchase the things that I used to get at Walmart, and Walmart doesn't get my business anymore. And that used to be about $200 a month. They don't get my money anymore. And I can vote and I can have faith in what I have faith in. And I can have faith in these other stores. They started stocking products. So I really didn't have to go to Walmart. And everything's been more hunky dory. The prices are comparable. I don't have to drive as far. And so it's like it's worked really well. And I thought about it several years ago, and I kept thinking if someone would just give me a different option that was anywhere close to as cheap as Walmart, I'd be gone from them. And it's been, like I said, almost a year. So Walmart don't get a dollar from me anymore. Where it used to get sometimes $300 or $400 a month from me alone. So they've lost income. And a lot of the other people that I know, we have all changed our habits. So Walmart ain't the king that it used to be. There are a lot of other types of shops and grocery stores. Now, there's been several went out of business. Uh, we thought that the Piggly Wiggly down here in the South went out of business, and a portion of it got bought up by another chain. And then now that chain is bought back. And now what used to be a Harvey's is now a Piggly Wiggly again. So I don't get it, but it's in these chains of stuff and somebody's buying the other guy out. I don't care. It, what matters to me is what are your prices and how are your products. So that's what matters to me. But with that, though, I've lost faith in these other businesses because I used to go into the store and I'd go looking for something. They don't carry it anymore. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That was one of the reasons why I shopped in your store. And now you're not going to carry the things I really wanted. But you want me to pay 10, 15 cents more per can on every item just because it's no, I'm sorry, but your product ain't that good. So, but anyway, so faith in the businesses. So I realize I really do have an individual choice. And when I just speak to other people, yeah, Piggly Wiggly. Oh, there's also places down here in the South. You're going to love this one, Marie, called Hoggly Woggly. Yeah, buddy, Hoggly Woggly. And they got a big pig up there on the thing. Absolutely. You just think all you want to. Pig face, with a little hat on. Hoggly Woggly, Piggly Wiggly. Yeah, but they're two separate chains. Hoggly Woggly. I swear to God. Mostly in Alabama, Mississippi, some of them in Tennessee. I've seen a few in Georgia, but mostly Piggly Wigglies in Georgia and southern Alabama. But anyway, and a few in northern Florida, but just regional thing, I guess, But anyway, they really do exist. Yes, Virginia, Hoggly Woggly really did exist, unlike Santa Claus, possibly. That's what I loved about America. Back in the days, the eccentric places and towns you have. Oh, we still have them. And it's a little disturbing in the, these strip malls, I go from town to town and they all look the damn same to me. When I traveled around as a puppeteer, I'd go up into Tennessee and, South Carolina and all around Georgia, places in Alabama and northern Florida. Um, and it got to be where, you could almost, there would be like 3 or 4 stores in the same in North Georgia or Tennessee versus down here in the South. I mean, it's a little strip mall, but there'd be this one, this one, this one, and this one, and here, there, up there, and all the buildings would look similar. And I'm like, look, this ain't what it used to be. I used to go into certain towns like Tullahoma, Tennessee, and back, 10, well, probably more like 15 years ago now, they used to have a Chinese restaurant there. What That was the bomb. Oh my God, they had rows and rows and rows and rows of vegetables and fruits and, and different. Oh my gosh. And for like $7, all you can eat, what? I mean, fresh vegetables, couldn't wait to go to Tennessee and to go to Tullahoma just to go eat at that restaurant. And one could say, well, I've eaten at Chinese restaurants. Yeah, but I've eaten at different places too. And that one was worth driving to Tennessee for, just to spend the night and go eat there for 2 days. I mean, just some of the bakery things and stuff. But anyway, but to the point though, everything got so cookie cutter that it's like no matter what town you went in, well, there's one of those. Well, there's this one, and there's that one, and so the ambiance of the cities has kind of gone out. Now, on the other side of that coin, there are some of these towns who are reclaiming themselves and who are saying, you know what, we're going to fix our downtown, and we don't want your stinking strip malls. We're going to revitalize the downtown. Now, Thomasville, Havana, Florida, oh, they redid that town. And instead of putting strip malls in, they put all their money into revitalizing their downtown. And there are artists there and people and places and restaurants and stuff. And it's just a little bit away from Tallahassee. And it's just across the border from Georgia, Havana, Florida. And back in the day, that's where they used to grow a lot of shade grown tobacco, having to do with part of the Havana cigar. When they couldn't get the tobacco out of Cuba for the Havana cigars, um, they started growing Havana in Havana, Florida, on just south of Georgia. I mean, like throw a rock. And they grew some of the best tobacco there in Havana, Florida. That's one of the reasons why it got its name. And the back history of that, they don't grow tobacco around here anymore. And it used to be $1 billion business, just gone. But anyway, but so, having faith in, putting yourself in, well, I worked for 20, 19 years, 18 years with this company. Then all of a sudden, all the companies get sold out, bought out, and everybody leaves. And people, who had businesses that had to do with tobacco barns and different things and mechanics and all the people who service those kinds of things, all that's gone. All the people who work those kinds of jobs, the restaurants that used to support the tobacco buyers that came through, all of that's gone. All of that's changed. And so it's like, you used to have faith in, well, this company's going to be here forever. Nope. Come in 10 years, 15 years, move out, and everybody's sitting there going, we thought we had jobs. What happened to our income? What happened to the growth? What happened to, so you lose faith in that. You lose faith in your humanity. I mean, I've known folks who, there was a maid and a janitor both working at the same hospital. The maid decided she wanted to be, she took the initiative, which the male janitor could have done, but she decided she wanted to be a nurse. And so she took the initiative, took the night courses. The hospital helped pay for her schooling. And when she got through her schooling, they moved her from being a maid or, so forth. Now she became a nurse. Well, when she became a nurse, the janitor now was beneath her. And so, even though they were friends and in the same pay grade, the same kind of housekeeping kind of deal, she was now a nurse and could boss him around. And so, all of a sudden, her shit didn't stink. She just, well, you're still a janitor. Now, the difference is he enjoyed what he did. She didn't. She wanted to become a nurse. But because he chose to be the janitor, she looked down on him. I'm now a nurse and you're still a janitor. Even though they both started out at, same time, same level, now she's a nurse and looks down upon him. And I think to myself, are you kidding me? Are you, what? So my faith in human beings and faith in each other as human beings. So two people who start out in housekeeping, one goes to become a nurse and the other one doesn't, all of a sudden the person who quote goes to college now doesn't have faith in the janitor. Well, you're just still a janitor. While the janitor is going, well, I'm really proud that you went to school. I even helped clean up your floors when you were sleeping or studying, on but now that you become a nurse, then you look down on me. And I've seen it happen more than once, more than 10 times actually. And a couple of times to the same person. And I think to myself, if the man's got a decent salary, he's got his house paid for, a small frame house in, a medium sized section of the town, keeps his house and his yard nice. It's just a small house, and you know, um, in one of those transitional neighborhoods, if you will, older section of town. Nice man, always polite. Got an old pickup truck, but he likes his old pickup truck. But somehow the person who started out at his level, because they became a nurse, they're better. And I'm like, wait. So that man, God bless him, because I knew him for years, he still had faith in them, in that they may not have anything to do with me, but they became a nurse so that they could do better. So I will accept them bossing me around. I will accept them looking down at me, even though he was a black man, and two of the nurses that I knew, they were both black. So it's like they were both even of the same ethnicity. And I thought to myself, but he still had faith in them. But they were like, well, but Mr. Jones or Mr., he's just the janitor. In my opinion, he was the higher spirit than the two ladies. Went to his church. One of them went to his church, by the way, and still looked down upon him. And I was like, how can you asshole Bible thumpers, do this to your own kind, your own kin, your own status, I mean, I became an engineer, but that didn't make me any better than the people that I used to work on the floor. If I was a machinist and I got moved up, I still treated the machinists, they were still my friends. I still helped them out. I didn't, I was glad that I was able to move up, but they weren't interested in my job. They were happy being machinists, where I like to draw and I use computers and I like to drill holes. But to the point though, but what does that have to do with spirituality? What does that have to do with faith? It has to do with our own internal faith. That black man who's the janitor hasn't. Well, I don't know if he's still alive, but the last time I saw him, I was like, in my opinion, the guy's a saint because he stuck it out in his profession. He had faith within himself that I'm still doing a good job, even though I may not be smart enough to go to school and become a nurse. I don't know if I could really stick anybody with a needle. He knew his place, if you will. but he wanted to work at the hospital. He wanted to be there. Sometimes they needed his help to lift a patient. Sometimes they needed him for, so he felt like he was doing God's work, that he was using his own faith within himself, but he was comfortable with where he was at. Now, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? Hey, Quartz, how are you? Aloha to you as well. Is that what they say in Yakima? Aloha? I tease. Wait, let me catch what Marie wrote. The suburb I'm in now here building too many multi-story units, flat complexes. Locals call them cluster yeps. Like termites, they make their mounds. I'm a janitor, cleaner by trade. We keep those hospitals sanitized. Without us, you'd be in your own filth. Absolutely, I agree, see? Though I've never cleaned a hospital, it's a duty that requires on a regular. Yep. Um, that Asalephalus, his daughter hygiene. Yep, I got the joke. Thank you very much. I get it. But I was a janitor for a while. I worked as a maintenance man in an old folks home that had 100 patients. And I honestly don't think that I could have been a nurse, but I'd love being the maintenance man. I love going into the rooms. I love interacting with the clients there. I like making sure that if a bed needed a thing or the hot water or whatever it was that was going on there, that I felt it my duty to make sure those old folks were you know, that where they lived was the best we could provide under the circumstances. And I pissed and moaned and jumped up and down and created a mini little um, awareness, if you will, and left in protest at what some of the stuff that was going on at the nursing home I was in. Boy, it was. Ooh. Anyway, but to the point though, um, if what you're doing is what you like. Now it's another thing if you're forced to clean toilets and but when I was in jail for a year and they were like, well, do you want to sit in a cell with 25 other guys, you know 9 of them are in for assault, a couple of them are in for first and second degree murder, and it's that there's 25 guys in a cell made for 15, and you would you like to sit in there or would you like to come out and mop floors? Let me out. I'll mop floors. I don't care. You ain't got to pay me. But at the time, you'd get like a couple of packs of cigarettes, and they were state made. No, well, that they don't do that anymore. But anyway, but back in the day, we got a couple of packs of cigarettes. I guess it was per week. I guess it depended on how anyway, but that was what we traded inside the prison was played cards with cigarettes for those of us who didn't have any money. But anyway, um, but to have faith in yourself, now that's one of the things that when you lose faith in the world. I know myself. I've questioned myself. I've had the discussion with you folks. um what do we still have faith in? Do I have enough faith in myself to get up tomorrow? It was 88 degrees outside today. It's the 22nd of February. It's too freaking hot down here, but I was outside working in the garden anyway because I'm still going to plant this year. I've got bugs on my potato plants. This is not normal. I planted early so this crap wouldn't happen. Couldn't find the bugs, but I got holes on the tops of the leaves, and I'm like, this is February. But I was out in the garden earlier this evening, and this has to do with faith because I'm like, all right, Creator, I had faith. You told me to plant early. I did. I've got my potatoes up that are, yay high. Thank you. But what the hell is with the bugs? Can you? Why the hot? What? Why'd you bring the bugs in already? Jiminy Christmas. That was the point of planting early. Anyway, So, but then after I had my little diatribe of 3 or 4 minutes in the garden of kicking the dirt, going, damn it, man, you know, I don't use poisons and I've got bugs already. Okay. But in my own in my own self, I had to just stop and stand in the garden and look up at the sky and go, I have to have faith. Even the bugs have got to eat. And it's time for me to go buy a couple of cans of beer. And slugs and bugs and things just love the yeast and old beer. Hi, Michelle. Yeah, Michelle, blessings to you. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are, or good evening. But anyway, blessings to you. But anyway, so, even today, as I was working in the garden, I was like, no, I got to have faith. I got to have faith that there are still taters in the ground. I could feel down in the dirt, and yeah, they're growing. So the tops of the potatoes aren't dead or anything, but there are bugs on them. So that means I got to go buy some beer, even though I don't drink it anymore, and pour some out for the slugs and things. And I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the leaves. So I don't lose my potato plants. But anyway, in doing so, I give the chickens something to eat. Collect a few bugs in the bottom of the things, and gives my chickens protein. So anyway, but to the point though, I just looked up at the sky and I thought, faith, Hawkeye, you gotta have faith in the universe. I've worked so hard in this garden for the last 30 years. There literally are tons of leaves and biomass and chicken manure and horse manure. And, I brought in trailer loads of things to build up my garden. And it's like, so there are a couple of weeds in it. Big deal. So I had to cut the pear tree out. Big deal. But do you have enough faith in yourself, Hawkeye, that okay, so it's going to take a little bit of time. I I haven't been feeling too good with this cold weather and all the rain. So, but now I've got those things cleared. So where a couple of weeks ago I was a little down in the dumps by the whole mess, I had faith that this too will pass. Get your butt up and go out there. If you can only work 30 minutes, then be satisfied with the 30 minutes. Have faith in yourself. I'm talking about me, that you can get this done. Well, it's done. And now it's time for me to go out and plant tomorrow. I've got the rows ready. I've got a little extra fertilizer stuffy in, and I'm ready to plant the seeds now. I'm a couple of days late. That's okay. It's still early enough and in the season for me to put seeds in the ground. Moon wise, I should have planted above ground stuff before the full moon or at the full moon. So I'm a couple of days behind anyway. But faith. So as I plant these seeds, I hold them in my hand and I have faith that these seeds will come up. And I say a little prayer as I put them in the ground. And I have faith in Mother Earth that the seeds will be protected and the water that comes down will nourish. And, some of the seeds I put out earlier haven't come up. So it's like, yeah, well, they're probably a couple of years old. So the fact that they didn't come up, not a big surprise. I've got more seeds, time to replant again and continue to have the faith. I've got strawberry plants coming up. I looked out in the yard and man, I've got little white flowers all over the place. The strawberries are already starting to bloom. I was several weeks early, but the strawberries can take a little bit of a light freeze and they're easy to cover out back here. So it's like, well, I got fruit coming. Well, now, not so good on the fruit trees. We haven't had enough cold weather. But I'm going to have faith that maybe I'll get a couple of pears or plums. Now, I could go, oh, crap, it ain't going to happen. The back of my mind is telling me and gnawing at me, if we don't get some more cold weather, there won't be any pears or plums. None. Because you got to have a certain amount of cold days. But the rest of me is going, come on, we'll get a couple. We're going to get a couple. There's going to be a couple. Come on. All right. But I could look over the years of failure of things like the pear tree that hasn't produced in a couple of years, but now I have two new pear trees up, and they're, whereas the other one's like 30 years old, in three different locations. I've got a lemon tree that's given, it only gave me 5 lemons this last year, but they were my lemons, you know. I've got a key lime that only put out two key limes, but they were my key limes. So I'm going to have faith that I'm going to continue to garden. I'm going to continue to love these plants, fertilize and water them, and have faith that they'll, even if I just get one of something, it's one of something I didn't have. And one could say, argue, well, was your faith enough to make, was it worth it to have one lemon? To me, it was. It still is. I got it in the refrigerator. But because it's my lemon. I grew it on my tree in my yard, didn't have to go to the store. It was only one, but by golly, it was mine. And there's gratification in that. And it gives me the faith to keep planting and to keep watering and to keep loving things. And this next year, because it was only a 1 year tree, that takes a couple years for them to come up. So I wasn't really expecting anything the first year, but seeing anything come on the trees, I was like, yippee. So, and other things that I have faith in my property, if you will, that there are places where it's like the blackberries are coming out this year. And I've got the little rabbit eye blueberries. And they don't get real big, but boy, if we have a decent season and they bloom, they're starting to bloom a little early, but so you can walk along in the woods and the swamps and munch on these little things, and they're really, really good, especially when they're ripe. But with that said, so I'm having faith in Mother Earth. I'm having faith that the sun, even though it's changed colors, I'm going to continue to have faith that things will grow. Even though they're, hypothetically, wilted, stilted, and otherwise, I'm going to continue to have faith. Because if I give up, then I'm just going to be a depressed old fool. If I give up and say, well, I spent all that time in the garden last year, I didn't have one tomato. Well, but the year before that, I had a crap load of tomatoes. I had to fight the bugs. I was out there every single day and night fighting the bugs just to have a couple of tomatoes, but they were mine. It was my responsibility. I took it. I had faith, and they were good tomatoes. When I had a tomato sandwich, I didn't have to worry about any kind of poisons, or they were my damn tomatoes. So I have faith in myself. And the thing is that when you put that kind of energy and faith in the plants, what you're growing, what you're doing, if you're an artist, if you put faith in the work that you do, if you put that trust of your higher self, if you have faith within yourself, well, I may not be, a Picasso, but there are people who think Picasso was an idiot, Salvador Dali, uh, you know, um, oh, I'm trying to remember, he cut his ear off. Anyway, but to the point, some of these people are like, that's art. I mean, okie dokie. But the folks who put their heart into it, someone else saw it. Um, Picasso, yeah, that was one. No, I'm thinking of the guy who Van Gogh, Michelle. It was Vincent Van Gogh that cut his ear off. That's who I was trying to talk about. Yeah, I love lemons too, and they're really good for your pH factor as well. Yeah, Van Gogh. Geo, you put an F. I get, is the F near? Yeah, that's a miss. I got you. I'm just picking on you in a friendly little banter there. But yeah, Van Gogh. But I've seen some Van Gogh, and hey, he was an extraordinary painter with the colors and stuff that he used. But at the same point, he was nuts. Literally. But at the same point, he had Even in his crazy state, he had faith in his painting. He had faith in the colors that he did and how he put it on the palette. I mean, just whoa. So, and I've seen some people who are just absolutely brilliant with brush strokes, but the compositions that they did sucked. It was like the colors were vibrant, but the pieces, the work that they chose, like a piece of fruit. Okay, how many times are you going to paint a frickin' banana? I mean, I get it. It's the light, it's the tone, it's the thing. And the colors are really bright, but you've done 9 pictures of bananas. Can you paint? Do you have any imagination? So they had the technique, they had that talent, but I don't think they had the faith within themselves to like paint something other than a banana. Just saying. I have a friend of mine who's stuck on owls and things. And it's like, okay, but it's like, well, I'm going to make one that's going to look purple. And now I'm going to, okay, but why don't you try a hawk? Why don't you try something else? I mean, why don't you try a red bird? Why don't you try a woodpecker? Why don't oh, but I like owls. Okay. But I look around and you got like 12 paintings of owls. And you go, oh, but what about this one? And there's just so much I can say about, oh, you painted another owl. Okay. And I don't mean to be condescending, but it's like, oh, swell, another owl. Oh, and you painted a black moon behind whatever, but I look at these folks and I go, have a little more faith in yourself to do something other than an owl. Well, but it's comfortable to me. Well, I like them. And I'm like, well, yeah, but so pick something that you don't like and make it that you do. Well, I don't know. That seems like, oh, okay, all right, just, from one artist to another. Sometimes, in order for you to have a greater faith, you have to lose faith and go, well, I don't know. I can't paint anymore. Because why? You don't want to paint owls anymore? So they've lost their faith in themselves. Well, I can only paint owls. And I tap him on the shoulder and go, nah, pick another bird. Why did you give up? Well, I don't know. But in they have to lose faith in order to find faith. It's an oxymoron. And over these last, well, for a while, but over these last several days, I get these little subjects that come in and then I cogitate on them for a couple of days and try to, twist it in and out and around and about. But the thing is that the people who have lost faith, unless they've drank themselves to death or committed suicide or died of cirrhosis of the liver, and I don't mean that in disrespect, but in truth, or some other calamity, but that those people who have found a new faith, now I got to say, some of these born again Christians, they've really got a faith, but sometimes that Bible thumping gets a little too wacky for me. Nobody's going to heaven but me and those of us who belong to this club. And I just, yeah, my feeling about that. We're all going. If you believe in a higher spirit other than Satan and that ilk, if you believe in a higher power that is on the good, we're all going to make it. It just, some of us might be in the wading pool longer. I'm hoping that I can move towards the deep end. Not so much because I don't like the wading pool. It's just I don't like all the splashing. Anyway, that's just think about being in a kiddie pool as an adult and trying to like have a good day. But anyway, actually, I like playing with the kids in the pool, but I'm different that way. But anyway, so a good teaching time. But for those folks who have lost their faith, some just give up altogether. I continue to pray for them folk. For folks who have lost their faith in like the church, but I think it was you, Marie, that said earlier, it's like I've lost all faith in all religions, I mean, even there's some stuff going on, like in the Buddhist community. And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, I studied this Buddha. Oh, okay. But the Chinese studied this Buddha, and there are different styles of Buddhism. So a Buddhist hist is not just well, that'd be like saying Christian. Well, until you do your study, you go, well, I just kind of clumped them all together. So if you're a Buddhist from another country and you go, well, Christians, well, that would include Catholics too. And a Southern Baptist who, if somebody come up and said, well, you're a Christian just like the Catholics, Southern Baptists might just punch you in the nose. I'm just saying. But or at least throw a bunch of Bible verse at you to make you feel like crawling under a pew. But with that said, though, the higher being is still what people are like have lost faith in. They've listened to the preachers who were doing, little kids or pay, or money, or it's always been about power from the people in the top. It's always been about power. And if I do use the Jesus, character, if you will, and with respect of my opinion, I do believe in the Christ, and but do I believe what the Bible says in all things? No, but I do believe that there was a Christ figure, and many of them over the many years. But so I'm going to use that as the example, though, in that so Christ was a pauper. He traveled from house to house. He traveled from town to town. He was gone for a long time. And uh, the Catholic nun that I knew, Sister Helene, told me in 1970 that Jesus studied Buddha and then came back. But oh my goodness, we can't admit that, you know. But the Vatican knows, and the old scrolls and the Dead Sea, there's a lot of evidence that, the Christ figure studied a Buddhist or Eastern religion back in the day, and that he came back to his homeland to, quote, preach the truth and talk about the Father. Well, what if it was a Buddha Father? What if it was a higher consciousness? But how he related it in terms of, a Western religion versus a Chinese religion, different cultures. And I you can talk about I've talked about this before, but when I went up to South Dakota, and pulled into a truck stop and asked for um, you know uh, iced sweet tea, the lady brought me a pitcher of hot water, a cup, a tea bag, a glass of ice, and a sugar, and said, "Here you go." And just several hours earlier, when we were in Kansas City, Missouri, we had dinner and we had iced sweet tea, and they were like, "Here, we got jugs of this stuff." So a few hundred miles north, and people don't even, he just even here in the United States don't have a clue what you're talking about, or the whole societal thing is different. The belief system is different. I mean, it's just it is what it is. And I love it. Actually, I think it's great. A lot of people say, "Well, we should all be together." No, I don't believe in that. We should all think alike. No, we should all understand things together. We can all understand that the universe is expansive and huge and encompasses all things. We can understand that each one of us has a higher being, especially when we nourish it and plant it and water it and fertilize it. When we use natural faith, the faith in our surroundings. We know it's going to snow. We know it's going to rain. We know it's going to get dry. We know it's going to get hot. We can guarantee that this is going to happen. How it happens, but if we have faith that we can get through it one way or the other, then we got it made. But when we don't believe in something, now I gotta. There are some people. And I've told this joke before, and you may have heard it, but this was long before the Houston floods. Okay, for a couple of years ago when all those folks passed away, and the floods last year in North and South Carolina too as well. And we've had floods down here with that hurricane that came through and wiped us dang near off the map for several days. I was out of electricity for 3 days, and the water damage. I mean, I'm still picking up tree limb damage from the hurricane a few months back. But anyway, um, there are some people though that have a faith that is a blind faith, and it's actually dangerous and a little on the stupid side. And here it goes. So the high water's coming, and they drive through the neighborhood, and the guy's standing on his front porch, and there's a couple inches of water in the street, and they're driving by, and they're going, come on, let's, we're gonna take you to the station. And the guy says, no, 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 God's gonna save me. God's gonna save me. So a little later on, the big fire truck goes by, and the guy has got sandbags, and the water is coming in his front door, and they're like, come on, come on, come on. No, 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 God's going to save me. So a little while later, all the electricity goes out in the town, and people are coming by in motorboats, and he's sitting, on his on the roof of his back porch, kind of thing. And they're like, "Come on, come on, come on!" And he goes, "No, no, no, no! God's going to save me." So later on, the water's up to the top of the roof, and he's sitting at the peak of the house as high as he can get, and a helicopter comes over, grab onto the rope. And he goes, no, 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 God's going to save me. So when he dies, he's standing at the pearly gates, and St. Peter's going like, Mr. Jones, why are you here? Mr. Jones says, well, I thought God was going to save me. And St. Peter looks at him and he said, well, he sent you a car. He sent you a fire truck. He sent you a motorboat and a helicopter. What the hell do you think you were going to get saved? So it's these people who have this mentality that, well, the good Lord's going to save me. Sometimes you got to sometimes you got to look out and go, maybe I should have faith in this because under the circumstances, maybe this is the guidance from Creator. And then there are some people who are just, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Well, I kind of sort of have that feeling, but it's not that I want to put my life in jeopardy to do it. Now, I've done some dumb shit. I've talked to y'all about some of the things I've done. I've gotten humped over and literally drowned one time and was pulled back out through the light. That was an experience. But that I've been in some situations where I could very well have drowned, and not by being careless, but by being a situation that was that presented itself more dangerous than I expected, if you will. Just a little, a log cut loose, for example. I was in my own backyard in my kayak, and a log came by and hit me and tumped me over. And it was only 3 feet of water. That wasn't the point. I was stuck upside down between two trees, and a giant log crashed into me. Not expecting that mess. But to the point, though, I had to have faith in my own abilities to be able to say, listen here, I can get myself out of tight spots. And sometimes I got to ask the angels to help me. So I have that faith. But at the same time, there are people who are like, well, it's like the guy who got sent the canoe and the helicopter. But God sent me might not have been what I envisioned in my faith, but I was sent help. Sometimes, you just have to take what's there. And there have been times I'm like, man, I really don't know if this is going to work out. But you got to take a hand. Sometimes it's only 2 steps. But by taking 2 steps out of the situation you're in, and especially if you have faith in yourself, another situation can present itself. And if you continue to have faith within yourself, that you say, well, ooh, here's another opportunity. And had I not taken just these 2 steps, I would never have been offered this other position or another avenue of whatever. So we have to have faith in that. We have to have faith in our higher self. But if so many people are caught up with losing their faith, where do they go to look for it? Or do they even care anymore? And I'm sure you all have known people or see, I mean, you see the news, people are like, oh, who cares? Why should I care about my higher self? Well, as I bring this up and kind of bring this around again in a way, I have lost my faith in a lot of things, but then it has made my faith in the universe stronger. Oxymoron, I get it. It's bass backwards. Ain't no way this should be working this way. But the more I see of things that have failed, it brings me closer to the natural things that I feel in my heart, like my garden. Something's going to grow. It may not, I might have to chase bugs around for the next 3 or 4 months, but something's going to grow. I had a couple of really good messes of potatoes this last year. They were yummy, damn yummy, better than any store bought tater I've ever had, in my own backyard. The same with the tomatoes and the other things that I've grown. But with that said, though, did everything grow up the way I wanted it to? No. But the things that I did get, I enjoyed immensely. I might have only gotten a couple of sprigs of asparagus, but when they come up fresh out of the ground and you just pick them on the spot and eat them, they don't even make it to my kitchen. I knock off the dirt and just eat them right there on the spot. Oh my gosh, it's delicious. And you can't get any fresher, better nutritional value out of something than wading through the garden in the early morning hours when there's dew still on stuff and having a sprig of asparagus, having a couple of fresh strawberries, having a couple of leaves off of some fresh spinach. I literally go through my garden and graze. And so it's like, well, why even, it doesn't even make it to the kitchen. I mean, why even take it back to the house? It's gone. I'm munching on it while I'm weeding the garden. And so it's like, that is just, I know what that does for me. I know what it does for my spirit. I've shared, spinach and potatoes and tomatoes with other people and so forth as my garden has grown or not grown. But to the point, I've always wanted to share, and I've always had enough for somebody else to get a mess of greens or something when they come up well. So it's that, and and I at least feed my chickens. So, but the thing is that it's the higher self that I feel. I worked on this. It's my energy along with Mother Earth. It's my prayers that I put into it. Even I got to cuss the damn bugs and, but to the point though, the bottom line is that I still have faith. I'm still working in my garden, even though the last couple of years have, I mean, considering the amount of work done versus what I've gotten in return, the garden's kicked my ass. If anything, I should be looking out there going, no, I'm not wasting my time out there again. But at the same time, I think to myself, but what am I going to do? Sit in the chair in the house? Am I just going to worry about what's going to happen the next day? What if I plant something and the seeds are good and I have a good season and I can share lettuce and tomatoes and potatoes with people? Or at least eat really damn good on my own where I don't have to spend money on I don't know what kind of food it is. But the other side of the coin is it's my garden. Whether something grows or not, it's like, well, I can kick the dirt and go piss, Or I can say, well, but I've exercised. I'm in my own yard. I'm doing something constructive. I'm praying to the universe when I'm out there. I'm trying to give back to Mother Earth. So I'm putting forth these things. Now, one could argue, but is your return what you put in? Spiritually, I don't care because it's not about what the return is. If your expectations If you put faith in, I'm going to have a good yield this year, and then a storm comes along and flattens your corn, and you don't get but 10 ears instead of an acre, that hurts. You put your faith in the Lord, in the ground, and the this, and the weather, and the gas, and your tractor. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, I put my faith in I'm going to get whatever comes out, and I'm going to be thankful. If it's one ear of corn, if it's a dozen ear of corn, if it's one sprig of asparagus, if it's a plateful, if it's a mess of potatoes, or if it's three, I don't care. It's nice when I get a bigger quality and quantity, but that's not the point. It's the point that I do it. I continue to do it. I'm outside, I'm in my garden, nobody bitching at me, and I can take a break or I can work until I fall down. Doesn't matter. It's the energy and the faith that I put in it. I'm outside, I'm getting a little sun, so the benefits are there. It's my connection to Mother Earth. It's how I meditate sometimes, pulling weeds. Nothing in particular, pulling weeds, putting mulch down, trying to make the earth good, and praying that the seeds will work, praying that, the sun and everything will work. So, there's a lot of other things in there, but I realized that it's really easy, especially after the last couple of years with some of the way the garden has taken a turn for the worst, in that have I wasted my time? And I got to say, no. Did I get the yield that I had hoped for? No. Did I lose faith? Almost. But a month ago, I said, no, I'm sorry. This is my garden space. I've been tending this garden for the last 40 years. I'm not going to put more seeds in the ground. Are you nuts? For $10 worth of seeds of different variety, I'm not going to go ahead and plant after all the work I've done. Well, what if it doesn't come up this year? So I've exercised, I've prayed, I've spent time in my garden outside with the trees and the plants and the bugs and the chickens. And so for me, it's like, well, wait a minute, isn't that still a win? Regardless of my return, regardless of my losing faith in how the garden turned out last year, but I still got some potatoes. I still got other vegetables out of it. I still got a really decent amount of strawberries. And what's better than going out and literally, knocking the bugs off and eating fresh strawberries out of your garden? It just, the joy that it gives me is beyond comparison. So what do I get out of it, faith wise? In my faith in the universe, in the energy. When I eat that little strawberry and I thank all them strawberry plants below me, I thank the critters, I thank the spirits, the leprechauns and all the ethereals, and I put that strawberry in my mouth and its sweetness is beyond compare. And I say it's my strawberry. It's the energy in the yard, in the place, it's the here. And they're like magic to me. You eat a couple of strawberries, never make it to the house. And people go, what are you doing? And I go, well, I go out in the mornings and then later on in the afternoon, and I scrounge, I forage my garden. You do what? Yeah. You eat it before you get to the house? Yeah. Oh, fresh okra that's about that big? Oh, better than fried, cooked, and otherwise. And people go, you eat raw okra? Yeah, well, it's the really high, when you eat them that are this long, which if they're the premiums. So if you were to buy a bushel of them, they'd cost you $30. But I go out in my garden and pick them and go, ha, 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 ha. You'll never make it to the farmer's market because I get to eat you right here on the spot. But so the okra, as much as I love okra and tomatoes, they never make it to okra and tomatoes because I usually eat them before I get to the house, or similar. But with that said, though, I just can't explain the overall intensity of the whole experience. It's the faith within the universe and the self, and and it's our expectations. Now, like I said, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and plant. Going to go ahead and water and fertilizer and do all that I know to do. And I'm just going to have faith that there's going to be enough out there for me to munch on. And regardless of how much comes up, it it will help me because I'm going to have faith that growing my own vegetables, regardless of how many, is going to be beneficial to me. Period. If it's one squash, it was mine. If it's a handful of little new potatoes, they're mine and I grew them. And it's with all of this intent and faith and purpose and so forth. So now that's my little discussion about that. But I'm hoping that in using that, that's the basis for the shaman. You have to have this basic faith of regardless of the outcome, your intent is good. You do all the right steps, even though it may rain or not rain or hot or too cold. You're going to take your chances and have faith that something will come out of it. Now, sometimes we get our foot stomped. Ain't gonna lie to you. You know, sometimes I've worked hard and it rained for a week and drowned everything in the damn garden, and you go, I spent all that time, and what did I get out of it? One squash. Piss on this. Well, my God, I didn't plan anything for 1 or 2 years, but I was very sick at that time too. But to the point, I was like, why should I be motivated? But then my new reality kicked in, if you will. And it was, but so you've lost faith in the universe, have you, Dave? Hey, tinfoil. Hey, seen you in a while. Glad to see you. Hey, man, it's been too long. Yeah. I hate to interrupt, but I want a good moment to post. I love to hear you talk, and I hate how each time I comment, it interrupts you. Don't worry about it, tinfoil. I just love to see you hanging out with us. But so anyway, using the garden and the growing and so forth, it has to do with all the other types of the faith that we have within ourselves as shamans in training. And it's very simple because you just got to understand that one apple is better than none. A whole bushel is even better, but to the point of the universe, when you start to understand that it's not the quantity that matters to those Buddhas and shamans and so forth, and I've noticed myself that in my older age, I don't need near as much food. I mean, I can eat a sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich, or I'll make an omelet kind of thingy, fried egg with cheese and different, garlic and things in them, add a little hot sauce to it, and whip it up. And sometimes eat it as a sandwich, sometimes eat it in a bowl with some ketchup or whatever. Sometimes throw a bunch of cheese on it, have a good cheese omelet. But sometimes this like one cheese omelet is all that I basically eat for a day. Maybe I munch on a couple of fig Newtons or something, but that's basically all I've had to eat. Now, if I look back on my life, I go, oh my God, I was supposed to have 2 eggs, slice of bacon, toast, and a thing and a thing. And I'm like, if I ate as much food as I used to eat, I would be 250 pounds again. And I'm a little overweight now because I'm a little more sedentary these last couple of months with all this rain. But and getting back outside and landscaping the house and getting back out, I've realized that I really don't need that much to eat, even though I'm still burning calories and so forth and sweating my tail off. 88 degrees in 21st of February. We broke a record down here. No, I don't believe it's global warming, but it's obviously strange for this time of year. But to stay on track with the faith thing, having faith in the Bible, in my discussions over the months and years about the Bible and so forth, you can't find a Bible that, a printed Bible that, when you start comparing them, one Bible's, left out some of the Psalms, and another Bible, because somebody else printed it, it's, and I've looked at the New Catholic Bible, and I won't read that SOB. You're not going to make me read that New Catholic Bible. And the Pope suggested that if you're a Catholic, you should throw your old Bible away. Are you kidding me? And get the new one and read only the new one. And I'm like, that's got to be blasphemous right there. Of course, if you've hung around me, my 10 cents about the Pope. Yeah, we need to throw him in the middle of the arena, with some lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. But anyway, there are more people who are realizing, oh my God, the Catholic Church really did screw us. Oh my God, the Pope is defending the pedophile priest. Oh my God. And people are just absolutely fed up. They thought in their faith, well, the church is going to change, but not until you change. And I've made this conversation before, for my friends, the Catholics, if you give another dime to the church, okay, feel guilty, then go to church, but don't give them a dime. If they pass that plate, let it go by. But in my opinion, to the Catholics who still support the church in any way, even by going to the church, you're supporting these pedophiles. And I'm like, please, you can change things, because things are already on the ropes. People have already had enough. But you got to stand up, and you got to have faith in yourself that, you know what? God's not going to strike me dead if I don't go to this Catholic church this Sunday. I'm protesting the fact that the Catholic Church continues to hide their pedophilia priest. God, I know, because Jesus said in the Bible, bless the beast and the little children. Wait, I don't hear any thunder. God didn't strike me dead because I didn't go to the Catholic Church. When people start realizing they had their faith was misplaced, so they've lost faith. But hopefully, and I'm still praying for this, that they're going to regain their faith on the other side. That they're going to, you know what? I don't go to church anymore, but I still feel spiritual. I don't go to Catholic church anymore, but I'm going to still read my old Bible. And I'm still going to think about the word and the things that Jesus did, and that he was a compassionate man. I may not believe in the Buddhist or anybody else, but I'm going to stick with a compassionate man. And I'm going to stick with the idea of kindness, love, and that's my motivation. That's going to be my spiritual guidance. In my opinion, your ticket's been punched, because you have this internal faith. You have this faith in the universe, and how it gets disseminated out versus the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or some of the old Sanskrits, so forth, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., Confucianism. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is, what is our faith in the universe? Do you have faith that the tree, an oak tree in the springtime, is going to put out leaves? And that by summertime, these leaves is going to turn this oak tree, that right now all my oak trees are barren. and it looks really strange because they look like ghostly figures at nighttime. But in a couple of maybe in a couple of weeks, if this warm trend keeps out, all the trees are going to be bloomed out, and I won't be able to see through the trees that where I can right now. So it's a naked time of the year at this moment. But here in just a couple of weeks, boom, everything's going to be full again. So then there's going to be shade when it heats up in the summertime. So the seasons change. So we have faith in the seasons. They're going to change. Okay, I know from experience that it may be 88 degrees now, almost 90 degrees in February, but we're going to have another cold snap down here. I'm already I'm already prepared for it, but is anybody else? Well, do they have faith in their weatherman? Oh, well, it's going to be a warm summer, spring, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but I've lived down here for the last 45 years. We always have a cold snap. There has never been a year we ain't never had a cold snap. Go ahead, do your thing, have faith. Well, I'm right. The groundhog, okie dokie. But if it snows on the 15th of March, don't tell. I warned you. It can happen. This is a cigarette, by the way. This is tobacco, although I do smoke the other. But I I was going to go to the store and buy a pack of cigarettes. I bought 4 packs of cigarettes that lasted me 6 days. That's a bad average. Trying to do better. So instead of going to the store and buying a pack of cigarettes, I got some tobacco and just rolled a couple of my own. So as much as I've been waving this thing around, I really wanted to hit it with some tobacco because I'm doing my best to try to get over it. I have faith in myself that, you know what, I was all ready, went out, started the truck. It's only a couple of miles into town. And I was going to get milk and a couple other things, but I realized the biggest reason I was going to go to town were for frickin' cigarettes. I've got tobacco, I've got rolling papers. This is my backup. And I decided, no, I'm in control of myself. I'm not going to just ride into town just for a damn pack of cigarettes. No, make the choice. Sometimes it's a little difficult, but anyway, but I have enough faith within myself to know I can roll a couple. I'm not going to die. It's all in my head. Well, I really want a cigarette. Yeah, I do. That's why I lit this. But it was more to explain that to myself and to you. It's like, you know what? You have to have faith in yourself. I have to have faith that I can lick this. I can, well, take a couple of drags. This tobacco goes out because basically it's pipe tobacco that I'm rolling in a cigarette. Really strong. But it reminds me of jail. It reminds me of better times. And it reminds me that I need to quit. It reminds me of a lot of things. So it's like, and it reminds me that I can be strong and say, you know what? I got papers. I got tobacco. I'm not going to die over this thing. But to other people, they allow these things, oh, well, what the hell? I don't have anything else to live for. If I want to go buy a pack of cigarettes, I'm going to drive into town. And I think the opposite. Wait a minute. Who's controlling this situation? Me or something else, the addiction, if you will. But it's having faith in your own self. And it took me a long time to get here, and I'm still working on it. And the thing is I can sit here and I can have this conversation with you all and be honest about it and go, yeah, I'm still having trouble with cigarettes. Of all the addictions in my life, I'm still having issues with tobacco, but I'm trying. But with the other things in our miscommunications and lifestyles and things, and I notice, and I brought this up in many in my discussions about this. It's where we're brought up. I mean, you can go 50 miles west into Alabama. Well, okay, it's 60 miles to Alabama from here, roughly. But they talk a little differently. Their slang's a little different. They make their iced tea a little different. And it's the state of Alabama. And one could go, well, them folks in Alabama, they're a strange lot anyway. Well, I have a tendency to agree with that. But at the same point, they're still people. They're still Southerners. They still have certain um, beliefs and systems and things. But you go into these smaller towns in Alabama and so forth, and they ain't changed a lot. They still got a lot of folks that live out in the country like I do that don't ever come to town but once once a week or once twice a month or kind of thing. But that their values are different. They still eat possum on the half shell, which is armadillo, by the way. They still eat possums and coons, and they still do these things. And people, you might think of the Beverly Hillbillies and go, yeah, well, in a lot of areas, that stuff's still true. Now, not everywhere and not always, but it is still true. And as much as you would say, but we live in the digital age, there are still people who are eating possum and coon and other critters too, by the way. But I mean, if you was to go into Louisiana and not eat a crawdad, well, then you'd just be committing to one of the biggest sins. If you eat gumbo, you're going to have some crawdads, and to a lot of folks, they go, "What? I'm going to eat a mud bug?" Yeah, but in Louisiana, them are crawdads, and them things is good. Um, but so where if you go up north and you say you're going to have some gumbo, they go, "Huh? Where you from?" I mean, you go up into Minnesota, if you go to Minnesota and up in there, they got other kinds of things. If you want iced tea, you got to make your own. But um, where we live has a lot to do with our own faith because it's a regional thing. I mean, when I was in Seattle, the people that believed in their faith and things up there was like different from down here in South Georgia. I mean, it just is. It's just different. Different locale, different peoples, different styles. You come down here to South Georgia and things are kind of slow and a little this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but we're still all people. And you say, well, there are Christians and Catholics in Seattle, but they don't act like the Christians and Catholics that are down here in South Georgia, but they still are. So our faith in ourselves is regional. Is that a bad thing? No. But how many people understand it? How many people think? I know some Southern Baptists who are like, listen here, if you ain't Southern Baptist from the South Southern Baptist, you ain't a Baptist and you ain't a Christian. I mean, there's a Baptist college not too far from here. Used to drive by it twice a day on the way back and forth to work. And so it's like, but wait a minute. But they're Christians and their faith in Jesus and their faith in their religion. Oh yeah, but it's Southern Baptist, goes way back, kind of Bible thumping, preaching, and hellfire and brimstone, and like okie dokie, you know. Um, what's interesting that I've been observing is that there are more people who are starting to embrace more their natural heritage. And maybe it's this DNA testing. Maybe it's ancestry.com. Now, one of the curious things, and I'll bring this up just because I'm going to bring it up here. Um, there's been a lot of suggestion, like, where are all of these transplant organs coming from? And there's been a lot of information that there are areas of China where all the people were forced to have DNA testing. And so now that there are families who their husbands, wives, or even their children disappear because there has been a national registry. And if you go to certain places in China, you only have to wait a couple of days to get a transplant because they already have the blood type and DNA match from the people in China to go harvest organs. Now, I bring this up because, and I should probably do a separate video on this. They're telling me I need to bring this up. But to bring this up as far as what we believe in and what we don't, what we have faith in, what we don't. People are having faith in, well, I'm going to have this DNA testing done. Well, then now they got you on record. Just saying. It says I'm a donor on my driver's license, and I sometimes wonder, do, should I allow any of my body parts to go into someone else? What they're going to want to start smoking, rolling their own tobacco and smoking weed, or eating, raw vegetables out of the garden. I mean, but to the point though, it's that we have faith in the system. Well, I want to find out who my ancestors were. But what are the folks that are logging our DNA doing? And could these idiots have another purpose? There's a lot of strange indication that out in in areas of China that people are losing kidneys and livers and pancreas, whatever it is, man. They're and some of the families are literally, okay, I'll sell one of my kidneys. Okay, you can take part of my liver. Okay. And it's like, because people are so desperate. Man, to sell a body part, don't know about that. To give it to a family member or someone who's dying and maybe I can help, well, that's possible. Donate my crazy self when I'm passed away to science and let them take this old hippie brain apart and see what's been ticking in there. That should be interesting. But at the same time, I don't, do I want my body all cut up and sent around and, throw my brain in a hurricane, and the blind can have my eyes and the deaf, they can have both of my ears if they don't mind the size. I think it's a John Prine song. Please don't bury me down in that cold chrome ground. I'd rather have 'em cut me up and pass me all around. Throw my brain in a hurricane, and the blind can have my eyes, and the deaf, they can have both of my ears if they don't mind the size. I'm pretty sure that's a John Prine song. But anyway, and thinking about the faith of things, and it's like, well, should I have faith that if I'm in a car accident, that they don't smother me and take my organs? Just saying, if they already have my DNA and my blood type, and I'm A positive, and that's less frequent than O positive. Well, wait a minute. Does that put me on a special list? Well, probably, because would be harder for someone that has A positive to take any other type of, any other organ. So in myself, in my own A positive situation, it's like, well, that keeps me out of B and O. You know what I'm saying? So I'm already out of the two categories. If you're O, sometimes you can have a little of this or that. But anyway, but to the point though, these people, we're seeking knowledge for ourselves so we can have more faith within ourselves. Well, I have faith that, well, I have Native American in me. Well, I have faith in, that maybe I was I don't know. So if you're ethnically of a black nature, then maybe you do come from Nigeria or someplace in Mumbai or someplace in Africa. I don't. Maybe you do have an ancestry from there. And not to say that, well, all black people should go back to Africa. I think there are a lot of Germans who should go back to Germany. I think there are a lot of Poles who should go back to Poland. There are a few Irish that should go back to Ireland. But anyway, and there's some Italians. Oh, please, get leave, But anyway, so we could argue about that, about any of the quote different ethnicities, or I've known some folks from England who were just so snotty, and I'm like, you're in America, cut that crap out. Well, I'm British. Well, yeah, but we won the damn war, asshole. But anyway, but I digress in this in some ways. But our faith, though, is intertwined in all these things that I'm discussing. That's my basic point about this. faith is interconnected with our society and with how we grew up and our family traditions, our DNA, if you will. Now, what we do with that information when we realize on our shaman journey, wait a minute, I should have faith in myself with the humbleness of the universe. And I should have faith in the universe regardless of the outcome. Because when you put forth expectations to God or to the universe, well, God didn't make my plants grow. No, it was a damn hurricane and it destroyed the whole South Georgia and northern Florida. It wasn't just you. Well, but my house was affected. I lost stuff in my garden. I had trees blow down in my yard. So, in that respect, it affected me. Why did God do this to me? Why did the universe? I lost my faith. Oh, hang on. Happened to a bunch of people, but it happened. But God didn't protect me. I had faith. I prayed. Are you still alive? Yeah. Then maybe your prayer was answered. Just saying. you know, happy to be alive. Well, when you've had your house burned down like I have, and you lose literally everything and you can't stop it and it goes up in smoke, you go, oh shit. All my childhood dreams, all my pictures, all the memorabilia, my yearbook, my $300 guitar, my, and you realize, oh my God, I'm still alive. Did any of that other stuff matter? Not really. Am I still alive? Yeah. So, whose prayer was answered? Where should you have faith? Well, after all those years of the house burning down, I live in this house where I built myself mostly, and I have built my house out of old tobacco barn and old windows and recycled things, and you know, I've been tried to keep as small a footprint on this planet as possible, and so in my faith in the universe, I realize I don't have to have a $1 million home to be happy. I've got my little shack down here in the swamp. It keeps me warm. It keeps me cool. I, I've made it all these years. Why should I complain? I, what else do I really need? But in my society, well, Dave, you should have your house should be this, or and you should have painted it. Well, no, it's tobacco barn wood. The wood's over 100 years old, and you want me to paint it? Are you nuts? No. And I've got pictures of my house that well, excuse my ugly face. I'll throw this up. That's what my house looked like when I first moved down here. And now there are trees all around. And this part of my house where these windows are, I'm sitting in this corner right now. Wait a minute. Is that true? Yeah. I'm sitting in this corner right now of the house. And the trailer's gone now. But to the point though, some of the wood that's on the outside of my house right there is still on the outside of my house. And it still looks like it did when I put it on, which was old tobacco barn wood. And I've had people go, well, yeah, they increased my property tax, which is still a swamp, and I still have to fix that issue. But the outside of my house is in relatively the same shape it was 30 years ago. Old tobacco barn wood. But there are people who look at my house and go, oh my God, you should have painted it. Why? I tried painting part of it and the paint peeled off because the wood was so old. But I was like, but wait a minute. The part of it is that it's old barn wood. Now I have used some oils and things to seal the wood, but I'm not painting it for squat, you know, and it's an old rustic home. But the thing is, people look at it and go, oh, that's old wood. It's 100-year-old wood, yes, but I've got insulation and so Uh, but there are those folks who are like, Hawkeye, I would, I looked at this one person who came down here and I've known for years. And she said to me, I said, so what would you do with my house? She said, I would get a bulldozer and I would level it to the ground. And I was like, what? She goes, your house is a monstrosity. And I said, it's made out of 100-year-old wood. I've got wood in here that's probably older than 100 years. And you're telling me that you would get a bulldozer and raise my house? Yes, because it's not worth anything. Now, that was 10 years ago when she said I should level my house. Now, since that time, I've added a few things, had replaced a few boards. All my windows are still here. I'm still in my house. My house is still paid for. My taxes are fluctuating. I'm going to work that out. But to the point, though, this person is now homeless because she wouldn't live in a house that wasn't valued for at least $500,000 because her shit didn't stink. And I said, well, I can offer you a place. I wouldn't stay in your house. I would rather live under a bridge. And so she became homeless. And she used to have, the $500,000 house here in Atlanta and one in North Georgia. They had 3 or 4 houses. She lost it all and refused to offer my hospitality of my little shack in the woods that was paid for. No rent. Here's a place to stay till you get back on your feet. I wouldn't live there if it was the last place on earth. And I was like, all right. You'd rather die than to live here. Yep. And I'm like, okay. A solar house? Uh, but it's not it's out of my league. It's free, it's warm, it's dry, it's can't save some people. And it's very likely this person I'm talking about is dead. Because she was like, if I can't have a $500,000 home, if I can't drive around in a new vehicle, if I can't have this, if I can't have that, if I can't, then I would just rather die. And I have not heard from any of her family members or anything, and it's a very good possibility she's dead, which is a shame. But when you live in this made up world, she had no faith in anything. She had no faith in a higher spirit. Her husband died early and she felt she was robbed, and that after he passed away, there was no sense in living. And so she gave up. She had no faith in anything and she lost it all. Homes in Georgia, banks accounts, big money, and lost it all. And refused the help of an old hippie hermit. Okie dokie. We make our own choices. So, but in my respect, I always respected her. Whether or not I thought, what she was doing and the money she was spending was wise or whatever and so forth, and the things that she purchased and the money she spent on a dinner, for example, was like, God, that lasts me 2 weeks, and you spent $400 in one night. Well, yes, I got a platinum card, and well, but then when the crap hit the fan and everything went south, she lost it all, including her life, her family, friends, all respect from anybody around her. And I was like, so she went from being a highly respected realtor in this area to a homeless person living under a bridge. Okie dokie. No spirit, lost their faith, but she didn't regain it. She just, there is no purpose in living. And I got to say, I don't care. I've lived in cardboard boxes, and I always found a reason to be alive for tomorrow. As bad, as cold, as hungry, or whatever, I always said tomorrow's what I make it. Today might be a piece of shit, and I might be screaming, kicking the dirt, and lose faith, but my inner faith says, I got to give tomorrow a chance. I gave up too many other times. But even in my giving up, I never gave up, which is really odd. In my addiction, I always fought for something higher. But I think that was instilled in me in the age 11 with my Mother Mary messages. She told me I was going to be here for a higher power and for something else. And that, dying wasn't an option for me, not in the traditional sense. And having faith in the universe and of these higher things, regardless of what society threw at me, or time in jail or divorces or storms or whatever it was. And one might say, well, it was the patience of Job. I thought Job was an idiot, but anyway, that's my personal opinion. Why would you continue to have faith in a God that made a deal with the devil? Now I have faith in the universe. Can a hurricane come through and wipe shit out? It has. It did. Tornadoes have been over my house twice. My next door neighbor has lost his barn twice, and I haven't had any damage here at my house, and should have. But he's literally, a $20,000 barn shredded twice since I've lived here, right up there on the hill. I mean, in the daytime, I can see it through the window. But the thing is that I have faith that the choice that I made, I'm as protected as I can be. And can a storm come and hurt my house? Yes. I would be an idiot to believe otherwise. So, but my faith in the universe is that I'm going to protect my spirit. If God takes me tonight or tomorrow, the next day, or 20 years from now, I'm still going to be prepared. I'm still going to have my higher self ready. So there are people who are like, everything else matters. The house matters, the car matters, this matters, my clothes matter, but screw my higher self. I have faith in the system. Where's that gotten us? But they don't have faith in the universal system. So as we talk, as we hang out, we understand there's more to this life. And thank goodness you all, me, myself included, but to all of you all, that you're understanding there's much more to this. So if you have lost faith, maybe you should have lost it, because you're going to find a better faith. You're going to find that really good, sure enough, knock it out of the ballpark, cosmic energy type of faith, that no matter what happens, you're going to still have it. The idea of the Christians like not losing their faith. Well, if they was going to drag me to the lions one way or the other, if somebody said, you want to be a pagan or you want to be a Christian, are you going to let me out, or am I still going to get fed to the lions? You're going to get eaten anyway. Well, then I choose to not change. But now would I go up and volunteer and go, hey, I'm a Christian, y'all a bunch of Muslims, chop my head off. God's on my chink. That's just plumb stupid, in my humble opinion. And, there are lies that you can tell somebody that you can keep to yourself. When I was in prison, you had to lie to the guards. I knew damn well and good I was making alcohol in the back corner. But if they asked me, I had to tell them straight up, no, boss man, I ain't making no alcohol. Knowing damn well and good that 3 days later there were 4 of us drunk in the stock room. But the thing is that, there were certain allowable lies. But they, that you couldn't get away with everything, and you couldn't get away all the time, and not everybody got away. But to the point of this matter, though, in my heart, I knew that, okay, most of the time we're not making any alcohol. But there's this one time where we are. We got some yeast and we got some fresh fresh fruit. And yeah, I made a gallon and a half of hooch wine, oh my God, give you the runs, but get you higher than a kite really fast, clean you right out. You didn't need an enema. You'd be sitting on the toilet for 2 days, but you'd be buzzed for them 2 days as well. Um, and if you want a really good cheap high, try nutmeg. These people who want to go out and do ayahuasca or mushrooms or something, I would dare you to take a tablespoon of nutmeg in a hot drink and mix it up. It's going to taste nasty, but take a tablespoon. I don't mean teaspoon. I mean a tablespoon of nutmeg. You can buy it at any store, just about it. But you get that down, you're going to have some weird ass hallucination kind of shit. And it ain't going to cost you but a couple of bucks at the grocery store. But I am here to tell you that nutmeg will give you a high that is totally different from anything else that I've ever had. And there was one time when I was in Hillsborough County Jail, I had one foot on the floor and my head on the pillow going, please, Jesus, let me make it till the morning. But I'd had two or three tablespoons of nutmeg. We had gotten into the closet when the guard wasn't there, and we were making pies and things around the holidays, and one of the little containers of nutmeg went missing. Well, we gobbled down uh, the evidence, before they could find the empty can kind of thing and go, well, they must have used it all when there were 4 or 5 of us that were, tripping our balls off, you know, drinking hot tea and anyway, being in jail. But just here to tell you, a warning, be forewarned, it'll get you in a high and it'll make your stomach upset too. But so will mushrooms and peyote if you take them in the wrong. And from what I understand, ayahuasca will make your stomach upset as well. So, you know, sometimes you get your best high after a good puke. I'm just saying. You get so high, you just got to get it out of your system. But then after that, it's like not necessarily smooth sailing, but boy, you get the high you deserved, I guess, if you're going to go puke for it, you know what I mean? But anyway, but to the point though, the having faith in yourself after losing faith, I'm focusing a lot not only on myself but with other people, in that if you've lost your faith, then maybe try to find a faith that's from anything kind of sort of different that maybe you've been used to. Maybe your faith in, quote, the Lord isn't about worshiping the Lord in the Bible, but maybe it's just having respect for the universe, having respect for the creator. If you can have enough faith to believe in a God, can't you believe that God, quote, was the creator of all things, including God? Is that a little bit hard, far fetched to make that little bit of leap of discussion or whatever? And if what they've been teaching you and of all of the religions are like just poo pooed on you, I mean, I can't believe that the Buddhists argue amongst themselves. I mean, it's like hard for me to understand. But it's not the religion that has the difference. It's the culture. The Japanese Buddhists don't believe what the Chinese Buddhists do. Okay, but at the same point, they're all looking for this spirit being of light. But they're going to fight over it. Isn't that like counterproductive? So, but anyway, with this discussion, though, the idea of losing one's faith, I know it reinstilled and rekindled. I don't want church. I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want someone preaching to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's have discussion. But if you're going to preach to me that this is the only way, when I've found a dozen different ways of achieving a higher spiritual sense, if you will. It hasn't been about the Catholic Church or about Christianity or about Buddhism in itself to reach this higher level. Because if Buddhists are going to argue amongst themselves and their religion, and Buddha never wanted a religion. That's the whole point. Jesus didn't want a religion. He didn't want people worshiping him. No. So anyway, we got to change this mental thing. But as you notice, and as people have changed, I see those who really had faith of some kind, who've lost it through the church or whatever, have a spiritualness about them that you can't drive it out. They're still spiritual. They're still good people, regardless of what they may have been or their core value is that of a shaman. Now they may be an accountant working for H&R Block, but they still have a core value. I've met people who were secretaries for lawyers, and just one particular lady that helped me get my disability way back when. God bless her. She was a Christian lady and she didn't appreciate certain words and things, but she helped me. She helped a lot of people who had lost all faith in any system that could help me get my own disability because of the seizures that I was having. But because seizures were so hard to prove under the certain conditions with Social Security, people that had a bad back, they weird strange thing going on here in the house. But I mean, but to the point, she was pretty much a Southern Baptist lady, and she wasn't too much into a Buddhist person, but she, you know what though, she had enough sense about her. She said, "Well, but you seem like you're a good person, and that's what matters." So, in her religious belief, she necessarily couldn't accept my Buddhist beliefs, but she understood that I was a good person and that I came from a Christian background, Catholic. And even though she was Southern Baptist, we related. She was a good person. I was a good person. And that whether our quote religious beliefs didn't really enter into it. It's that the fact that we had core values that mattered. Even though she still went to a Baptist church and I still came home and meditated, when we interacted, I respected her space, she respected mine out of kindness, respect, compassion, the core values. Not all people are like that. But my point is that they're out there. And she would speak to me, goes, "Well, we found out our preacher was messing around. He had 3 different affairs away from his wife with different parishioners. And of course, we fired him. And well, that was really bad. And I really liked the guy. And, so they had lost faith in their pastor, but not in their religion. But I mean, so, there's stuff like that goes on all the time, especially down here in the South. It was more common than not now, but some folks are still into that. But anyway, so she had lost faith in her pastor, but never lost faith in her religion or in her core values. So our situations change on a day-to-day basis. How do we react to it? That's what makes the difference. So I just realized I've been on here for over 2 hours. Let me come back up here. Sent as a spirit. Let me see. Let me go back up here. Quartz wrote nutmeg down on a sticky note. Now, but let me tell you though, with that said though, Quartz, if a tablespoon is that's like a hard dose. Now, if you take a teaspoon and a little bit, you can take a little bit later on. But if you really want to get the buzz going, just start with a tablespoon. Now, I would not go beyond that. And there are different books and things that talk about nutmeg, and they will warn you, and I will warn you, don't go into this thing lightly. But, if you go out, somebody hands you a pile of mushrooms and says, here, take a few of these. Do you know what you're getting? Well, at least with nutmeg, you know what you're getting. I'm just saying. But, I wouldn't start off with a heavy dose. Start off with a heaping teaspoon in some strong tea, add a little honey to it. Nutmeg's kind of strong. Now, we used to just literally just put it in our mouth and chase it down with coffee or some tea. I do not, I do not suggest that. That's really, oh man. But mix a little in your coffee or tea or something. And I would make a strong tea because nutmeg to help with the taste. But it will damn sure give you a buzz. It will damn sure give you a. It's not like being drunk. It's not like smoking weed. It's not like doing mushrooms. But mushroom like it will give you a higher level of experience, if you will. Where weed will make you sit down and want to have the munchies. Drunk, you can go out and party and and be an asshole. Nutmeg, you're not going to want to drive. You're going to want to stay at the house. Just saying. Malcolm X spoke of it in his autobiography. He was from Lansing. Years before I was born, they took nutmeg in prison. That's where I started. Mine was in prison, by the way. Yep. Always knew the nutmeg was a legit psychedelic. I just didn't want a sick digestive system. No diarrhea then. That sounds better. It'll mess with your stomach, Tin. It will. Dosage might be a tricky. A tablespoon, you said? That's maybe 3 of my capsules or something. That's not a lot, or it is. It is in nutmeg terms. Now I'm thinking a rounded heaping tablespoon. I'm talking, but if you start off with a level teaspoon full of nutmeg, it's going to be a lot less. But my point to the upset stomach, Tin, is that if you do mushrooms, you're going to have an upset stomach. People who've taken ayahuasca, many of those people have taken peyote. If you do a certain amount of peyote, you're going to throw up. So different psychedelics. I had some acid back in the day that when in the first 45 minutes when you peak, if you've had, depending on what you've had on your stomach, you're going to throw up because it's the whole disarrangement your brain's starting to do, and it's like you've been spinning inside of a little ball really really a hamster wheel really really fast. You've been on the tilter wheel for an hour without let up, constant spinning, and you're just gonna upchuck. But anyway, with that said though, organic would be best if possible. I don't know of any inorganic nutmeg, by the way. I've been meaning to look for other substances to try that might taste bad. Capsules are a great invention. If you do it right with the teaspoon thingy, it only lasts a couple of minutes as far as the taste goes. So, when you eat raw slimy mushrooms for the high, a little bit of nutmeg ain't nothing. But anyway, yes, Tinfoil says we're all in various stages of a nap or a dream as we lounge in 9D or whatever. Yep. Marie says, I still tune into some YouTubers who talk and study the Bible who still follow the teaching, but don't depend on just the curriculum, which is repetitive in all doctrines. Absolutely, Marie. I hate when Tinfoil says, I hate when I wake up and find empty hands when in the dream I had just been holding some precious stuff. That's happened to me here recently where I was like eating a ham sandwich and sitting in the park and going, what happened to the ham sandwich? Yeah, that's a weird one. And I'm not really into ham sandwiches, but anyway, heaven is all around us. It is a few fluttering heartbeats away. Absolutely. Um, I feel like such a normie when I've been here. Normie tinfoil. Court says you haven't been here in a long time, tinfoil. It's been many months. Last time you were here was long ago in 2018. I didn't realize it had been that long, but I guess it has been a while since I've seen you, tinfoil. But at the same point, I've been missing a little myself. Between the weather and I've been fighting off some kind of weird cold thingy, and the angels have just literally had me on another planet. Since I've got y'all here at the end of this thing, let me just fill you in on a couple of dreams that I've had that are just some other people have made comment that they have seen me in this astral plane of other places. And let me just tell you about this because I can't prove a damn bit of it, but it kind of does explain some of the things that have been going through my head. Well, anyway, let me go here. This is as honest and as truthful as I can give to you. I was contacted 6, 8 months ago in my dream reality, and they told me that I was going to be asked to be a speaker, and I've been a public speaker in many ways. I've talked about my public speaking career, and that I placed seventh in the nation in extemporaneous speaking in 1989, and I've done over 70 different plays and director and actor and anyway, and all the puppet shows that I've done and all the things that I've done. So, but anyway, with that, I've had a lot of public speaking experience. So, in my dream world, I was asked to speak before this new galactic council of sorts. Now, I'm saying galactic council, but just bear with me. That isn't necessarily their name, all right? A lot of people banter words around. Just understand that this was a meeting of beings. Now, I use the movie, one of the Star Wars movies, where Queen Amidala goes out into this thing and she's speaking to this gathering of beings, and it's really huge. Well, where they take me makes that look like a little tiny room, and that I've been asked as an ambassador, not only from Earth, but from this part of the galaxy and of our galaxy to other galaxies, and that I was asked to make a speech of peace. And while I was standing at and this came in a succession of dreams, by the way, which was creepy in itself. But the first one was that they took me off. They had the conversation with me. I met with 7 different alien beings, and they took me out into the empty auditorium, if you will. And when I walked out onto the podium and this building opened up, I was like, I've been in some big auditoriums. Now, not Carnegie Hall, but McKay Auditorium in Tampa, um, some other auditoriums that I've played in, different venues and things. So, but in standing in this particular venue, it was so huge. It was beyond any movie I've ever seen. And in that respect, I was like, oh my God, this is like the Star Wars movie when they're talking to the council and everybody, but it's 5, 6 times bigger. It is so much more huge. And so, but anyway, so then the next time they took me out there and showed me the thing, they talked about what the speech would be, exactly how I should word it, and I rehearsed it. I practiced with different members of the delegation from different areas of the galaxy and of our galaxy and other galaxies, but that they had come together and that they were asking me to give this speech of peace. And I was like, why me? And they said, because of my history. I have been a public speaker, but I'm just basically a common guy. I'm an engineer. I've worked with different things. I've been an artist. I've worked as a musician, but because I have been all of these things, I wasn't necessarily like a great scientist. Not saying Einstein was great, but like notoriety like Einstein. But I was known within my trades as a good person, as a decent human being, as a good engineer, and but that I was just a common folk. I wasn't some kind of elected official. I'd never won any major battle. I wasn't a great war hero, but I was a very good common person that had a talent. And so they asked me to use my talents of public speaking to do this speech. And there were, I don't know, it seemed like there were a million beings in this place that I gave this speech. And I rehearsed it for days. And I mean, this has been a couple of months ago, and I haven't discussed this because it's really kind of way out there. But in that, in times when I go off on these dream walks of mine, literally I'm out for 2 or 3 days at a time. I come back and I wake back up and I'm back in my house and I'm looking around. I'm doing the internet thing. I'm having conversation with y'all. But in the back of my head, I've got like this, where the F have I been? Because this is so real. But between us, I can have this conversation with you. I can't prove squat, except that it's been so flipping real. I'm having this conversation with you now because it's I've had a follow-up, if you will. Several months ago was the speech. Now they took me off planet, if you will, for a couple of days here recently, and I was back in with this group. They want me to have another discussion. There's another part of the piece that's going on. Whatever it is they asked me to do in the astral world or wherever dimension it is, I am some type of ambassador to try to keep people from wanting to kill each other. Yes, we all have a core value, but you live on planet Zeta, screw you. And you live on planet Ooby Dooby Scooby Dooby. But we all believe in the core value, do no harm. How we get there is part of the discussion. So why am I telling you this? I guess because, I have to have faith in some of these things because it's like, well, why am I disappeared for a while? Why didn't I have more conversations or more YouTube videos? They've had me somewhere else. Like I said, I can't prove this for squat, except that the reality of it, I watch a lot of science fiction. And I would expect my mind to dream up something like this. Okay. But then when I experience it in the ways that I do, I realize this ain't a movie. This is not a dream about a movie that I saw. This isn't about some old sci fi movie that I saw and something's nah. It's like a sci fi movie, but much different. There are only some similarities to a sci-fi movie, but the rest of the reality of it is like there is no comparison. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm telling you this because you all are my friends, and this is one of those really crazy Dave kind of things. I haven't done like just a video about this because it's what about how, what do I prove? What does this mean? But you guys are my friends, and I can sit here and tell you and say, there's been some odd stuff going on. The reason I haven't had as many videos is because this other thing has been going on. In whatever other reality is, in my reality, something's been going on. And this is what it is. So I'm kind of coming clean with you guys. Not that I've been trying to hide it. It's just been hard for me to like mull this one over and go, you put me in front. I mean, I'm when I lived in Tampa Stadium, it wasn't near as big as it may be now. But when I first walked out on the field down there in Tampa Stadium, I used to be a vendor, and sell popcorn, whatever, Cokes, whatever at the ball games. And so, there were times when I was down on the lower levels and doing different things and being with different sports teams and living in Tampa. And anyway, so it was the Army Navy game and the damn place was packed. And, there wasn't but a few seats left in the stadium. And I'm down on the edge of the field looking up at all these people. I'm going, that's a crap load of people, and so was I playing football or no? That's not my point. My point is that I realize how big of an audience there is when you stand in the field in a stadium and you look around yourself and go, that's a shitload of people. Well, in wherever I was, my point to this is Tampa Stadium or any other stadium or anything I've been in, no comparison to wherever it was that I was making these speeches. So, don't know what it means in the long run, except I feel that I am still in this plane and in another reality. I continue to try to be an emissary for peace. And so, me, when I have my conversations with y'all, I'm always asking and saying, please spread it with your friends and your relatives. Continue to do your work to spread the positivity, and let's all if we don't wish to expand our minds when we make this transition, people are just going to be standing there in the mud looking around going, what the fuck now what do I do? For those of us who are even at least trying to understand, it's going to make it a lot easier. Now, does that mean, do I know everything that's going to happen when we get? Not a clue. But I do have some inklings of things. And that's why we have these discussions. So let me check up here. Let me go back up here a little bit further. Court says it sounds like something that Corey Good has been through. Yes. I haven't listened to Corey in probably a year now. So just making a reference. Now, he made statements about things, and in my realm, I was like, that sounds familiar, but somehow in my dreams, that, it sounds familiar, but not having listened to him in at least a year now, at least, because I was like, I just can't believe the guy. There's been too much stuff and too many things, and I'm sorry, but I don't believe him. And there were certain resonance things within myself that my spirit guides were telling me the guy's lying. He's telling the truth up to a point, but the rest of it's bullshit. And so I was like, well, okay, so the little glass pads and things, that's true. The information that he got, fishy, fishy, fishy. The fact that he was some kind of emissary, yeah, but not like he was talking about. And the way that I was shown that I am an emissary doesn't relate in the least to what he talked about. It was Corey always reminded me of him telling someone else's story, but claiming it was his. I've always believed that. I saw some of the first interviews that David Wilcox did. Now, I believe David Wilcox in a lot of ways more than I ever would believe Corey Good, because David was skeptical in the beginning, but Corey had enough information to convince Wilcox, and I thought that was a shame. And after a while, David caught on, and some other people caught on. Now, does that make Corey a bad person? No. Does it make him a shyster? Yeah. because I have seen other people who've been harmed by Corey Good and not by David Wilcox. And there are super soldier people who have, are way much under the radar, if you will, who have been criticized, condemned. I've seen that they've done videos, shown the emails, and it makes me think of Corey Good as a stinker. Because regardless of what I have experienced and what I have a chat with you guys, I'm sorry, but what gives me the right to say that you're a freaking liar or that your experiences are incorrect? The universe is vast. I could have been at a place that Corey never went to, and Corey could have went to a place that I've never been to. But does that make either one of us a liar? No. But to the point, he wanted to come out and talk about these things. This stuff's been going on with me. I'm just now bringing it out. I know I'm not trying to compare myself, but I wanted to talk with you all about this and say this has been happening to me and a couple of other people. So I've lost my faith, staying on the topic of that, with Corey Good, and I've lost some with David Wilcox, in that how much intel are you getting that's actually intel that, oh, well, this is happening, that, blah, blah, blah. So far, up to a large point, I've got more information from Drake Bailey that has been more consistent, on topic, in line than any of these other people over a longer period of time. Well, David Wilcox has been around for a while, but so's Drake Bailey. So there are, and Sam Muggsy, by the way. But with that said, so there's a lot of other things going on, and I just okie dokie. But now, to the point of being somewhere, being around people, beings, um, one particular thing that recently happened was one of the ambassadors that I can talk about this now because it's over. Can I prove any of this? No. But as the ambassador that I was, one of the other ambassadors of this group of chosen folks, you're going to speak for us and you're going to speak for us, and so we're ambassadors, had been basically taken over by another entity, a walk-in, if you will. And so that there was coming a time when there was going to be a vote. It was a big deal, and charters were being brought up and stuff. I mean, just here within this last week or so. And that I was given the task to give this soul bomb, SOUL, soul bomb, to this ambassador. And that when it went off, it would literally save the host body, but bomb the soul that had taken over the body. Boom. And just, and it sent it into oblivion in purple and the down arrow blue that's on this thing on my YouTube. It's like, what? And I remember having this discussion in that, because of, I don't want to harm any being, but because this being had invaded a friend of mine and an ambassador, that I was asked to basically kill this other being. And I was like, but I don't want to do that. But in my own soul, in my own heart, in my own being, I knew that that person that I had met several times was not the same person. It looked like him, it wasn't, but all of our intel came in and said, it ain't, there's been a walk-in. That ain't him. And because I was one of the closest people in, and that I slipped in this disc of some kind of, about, I don't know, it was about yay big around, and it was gold and brass, and I remember it had a red gem in the center of it. And that when the gem lit up, it was the bomb. It didn't literally explode, but it removed the entity that had taken over the host. You talk about some weird, wild. I've never had, I've never seen a movie or anything that I can recall that even resembled what happened, let alone the steps that went into what they told me, how I went about it, how we proved to this entity was actually in this other host body. We had done some, it was sort of like I was asking them questions. You remember the time that you and I were like, oh, yeah, yeah. And it was like, lie. So I knew that whoever, whatever had taken over this being was a walk in and a shyster, and it needed to be dealt with. So, but it meant that that entity that was dispelled was disintegrated. It was obliterated. There wasn't anything left but a couple of sparks. But anyway, Tinfoil says, my race is cool. It can change. So give us time to learn. That's from a song by FM, Canadian group in like 78. Um, there sits a council in the stars. It passes judgment on our worried. Yep, I got to hear it again. It's called Destruction by FM. It's a rather weird ending. It sounds like it, Tinfoil. It's awesome. Others have had similar dreams. Heck, maybe the dreams are what's dreaming us. I've sometimes, wondered that myself, Tinfoil. It's like, is right now a dream from my other reality? Or is this my reality and the other's a dream? Or can I literally occupy two places at one time? And one of the things that's been introduced to me is that I am in two places at one time. There is a coexistence. That's why I'm like knocked out here because it's more important for me to be there. But I'm still in two places at the same time. Interesting. I've had other experiences like that and other people too. I won't mention any names just to be polite to the other people, but you all know some of these folk. Anyway, we've just had private conversations, but some of these things other people have seen me in their dreams, kind of thing. Like, okay, that's interesting. Uh, Quartz, thank you for believing me. It's hard for me to believe me, if honestly. I know how that is like. People that haven't had the same dream wonder if you're lying or something. As far as I know, it's not a lie. And what I have experienced isn't a dream. It is absolutely another reality. I know the difference between dreams, and this is not a dream. This is like I can touch the podium. I can hear my voice do the echo, 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 echo in the ball field. You hear this, hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, gentlemen. You know the idea. But anyway, but to the point, I've had dreams that are black and white. And then there are the dreams that are like vivid color and you're like bumping into people. And I don't know, they're different. And this is what's been going on here recently. So, but thank you, Quartz. If you believe me, it's okay. But just understand that there are things going on. And one of the things that, whether or not it was me, I was able to sit in and at least in a dream state be a part of beings who wish to have peace, beings who, regardless of their society or race or whatever, planet or whatever, is that they've all had enough. In the universe, people, beings have just had enough of this lying and thingy, and it's not just here on Earth. Beings have just had enough of this mess. It's like, you don't have to agree with this, but keep your nastiness to yourself. But anyway, eat each other, but not us, kind of thing. Okay. Tinfoil says, wow, well, I hope you'll appeal in our behalf. I actually have. That there are those of us not so different from yourselves down here. Sorry, I see I always jabber too much. You don't jabber too much, Tinfoil. It's quite all right. Music is the key to something less dense, less heavy. Some of it. Yeah. Wilcock is serious, I know, and well studied, yes, and he's clever And yes, it's only because I've been aware of him for almost 20 years that I can take him at all seriously. I agree, Tinfoil. I've been with Wilcox for at least the 20 years. I knew about him in the late 90s, so I'm with you on that one. Tinfoil says, I've never been more sure that this dream is largely, if not completely, under my semi conscious control. Only under the influence of your energy here do some of these things even appear to my normal consciousness. Most peculiar. You're a real cyber shaman. Thank you. Thank you, Tinfoil. Two places at the same time, says Quartz. Absolutely. I always dream if other people can tell that I am in their dream. Have you astral projected recently? Yes, like every night. I'm I'm always leaving here. And in the last, well, I can honestly say that in the last year, it I'm when I go into dream walk, I'm almost always in the astral plane. And there I've seen some really damn strange things out there recently. But to the same point, how do I put this? Some of the woolly boogers that I was seeing like 2 years ago in the astral, in my humble opinion only, they don't seem to be near as many. Now, there are some nasty entities still on the astral, but it's not as dirty as it was just a year ago, even 6 months ago. I would be out there in the dream state, and it'd be like I would have to run through a gauntlet of evil shit to get to where I was going, and like, whoo, that was creepy, and can't shake it kind of thing. But in these last 6 months ish, I'm going on a year now, is that there's still some uglies out there, but my opinion, but I'm getting some okays from up above saying, yeah, that's the higher frequencies of the Schumann resonance, which a couple of days ago was literally smack off the charts for 24 hours or more. It was unbelievably high, one of the highest times that I've seen since I've been monitoring it, and I monitor it every day. But with that said, though, Drake and some other folks, and I've seen this in my own astral world, if you will, and my own angel messages, in that these higher frequencies are driving the lower frequency beings in this 3D reality and in our this earthly plane, if you will. It's driving them bat crap crazy. They can't take it. And I mean, I can get it. And after that heavy duty blast we got a couple of days ago, my brain is clearer somehow. I can't, there's no way to quantify it other than there was this weird fogginess that was there, and now it's not. Um, hard to figure out. It's like having the flu, and you take some flu medicine and you're here, but you're not quite here. It's like, well, your reality is slightly altered. And you're sneezing and you got a slight headache and a little fever. Well, it was sort of like that. And just all of a sudden, it was like after that heavy duty, high frequency day, what? I mean, I still have a little bit of a cold, but whatever that weird fuzziness in my brain ain't there at the moment. That's just a curious observation. Now, I keep I'm going to continue to have faith that this shit will keep going because, man, I've had enough of the muddled mindedness thing. But if my job is for me to be in the dream state, that I am somehow needed somewhere else to speak peace to the universe, to speak about do no harm. How can we of all beings? I mean, I'm going to try to write down I wrote down part of the speech, and I want to do the speech, if you will, as I remember giving it to this humongous crowd. And it was just that, with the utmost of respect and with the utmost of honesty and sincerity, I speak to all of you beings across this wonderful galaxy and in our universe. We, me being the emissary for this planet and for this area, we welcome you to join hands and spirits and, and to stop this war, to stop the hate between us, and to, regardless of what differences we have, we should embrace them rather than get pissed off and want to start a war. So, I mean, and I'm having this conversation with what seemed like a million beings at one time. It was tremendous. So it's like, okay, so if you got to swipe me from this reality, but that's what you're using me for, as an emissary for peace. And because of my work here on this planet and having these conversations with you all, they know my heart. So they may have plucked me off of this planet after I started doing the YouTube videos, if you catch my drift. And it wasn't until I started speaking about shamanism and about the transition that I started having these dreams of being an emissary. I mean, serious dreams of being an emissary. And so it's like, you have been chosen, Hawkeye. Now, I've got another name in this other realm, but to the point, though, you are our emissary. You are a spokesperson. And the reason we chose you was because you can't lie. You speak from your heart with no other intent. I have no political ambitions. I have no wish to be in charge of a planet or whatever. I could help manage it. I would give, technical advice and whatever. But to the point of wanting to be, quote, the leader, nah. I'll be your assistant manager, if you will, or a CEO, but I don't want to be the boss. Manage, maybe, but boss, no. And so in my own heart, and you all know from my videos, I don't ask to share or like a video. Thank you when you do. But my heart is sincere. I do this for you, for us, for the conversation, for the peace upon this planet and in the universe. And apparently they've heard it, saw it, and said, we want this guy to talk for us. Oh, holy shit. You want me to be the spokesperson? Yes, because this is what they're telling me now, but what they have told me. Yes, because these other beings can see in your soul, Hawkeye. These other beings know you're not lying. So any one of us, because we're politically motivated, I'm a general, he's a shyster, if they can't give the speech, because if they tried, these million beings would see in their soul and know that they weren't sincere. And I was like, I'm looking around going, me? And they're going, yeah, because I have no other motive. My only motive is peace. Now, ain't that the shits? Just saying. So when you don't see me online, or I'm not doing a live video, for a couple of days or a week, I can't prove it, but they've asked me to be an emissary and a spokesperson and like I said, the only way that they, quote, chose me was because that I couldn't lie. I wouldn't lie, which was one of the things that upset me about that I had to take this soul bomb in and get rid of this walk-in entity. It was really difficult for me to do. I was acting like a James Bond, if you will, and I was afraid I was going to get caught, but it worked out. But the thing is though, that in speaking before a large group, if I had any animosity towards any group, that group would pick it up. So I had to speak from my heart. I had to, I have to be clean of spirit, if you will, without any kind of intent. Well, I'm going to say this to get this group over here to like join. None of that. See? So, but again, I can't prove any of it. But if that is truly what is happening with me while I'm gone, what a blessing then it is that I could be a spokesperson for all of us to ask for peace in the universe. Oh my God, I wish you could see what I have witnessed, at least in my dream. Or no, it wasn't a dream. That was an astral. That was sure enough somewhere else. I've got a really vivid imagination, and I'm here to tell you, I could not imagine this. Some of the things that I have seen, I just is out of my realm of why would I even imagine that? Let alone the people, the beings, the setting, the it's close to some science fiction stuff, but nowhere near it at the same time. So I just scratch my head in wonderment and go, well, that was interesting. Let me do a live stream and have a chat with you guys. Let me share this shit with y'all. But to the point, though, is like, well, again, I can't prove any of this stuff to the cosmic stuff other than it just seems very real. And I know that the humbleness that being able to have a speech of such magnitude to so many beings, and it was being like broadcast to all of their planets. So it wasn't just the beings that were in this auditorium kind of thing. Um, it was like sitting in the middle of the Death Star with the Death Star hollow. Okay. It was even bigger than that. It was like tremendously huge. But it was that all beings could see that my soul was clear of any false intent, and that's what made the speech so powerful. Yes, it was the words. Yes, it was my inflection. Yes, it was how my hand gestures and my inclusion of all beings, but it was the spirit with which the speech was given that made it most effective. So in that, I can't. What a reward! What a reward! I I don't want a gold star. Don't need a gold star. But hearing and feeling the intensity of these beings when I finished that speech, beyond comparison. And I've been on stage when people, 400 people get up and gave me a standing ovation. That is exhilarating beyond comparison. When did a show one time. We did a show called The Vikings, and it was a premiere from a lot of folks from Tallahassee Little Theater and FSU. It was a big event, and I was one of the two main stars in this thing. And when we came out to take our bow, there were 1,500 people in the auditorium who stood and clapped and gave us a standing ovation. And when you have that much energy directed at you for what you've done, for making them laugh and pee their pants and cry and remember it years later, and it was the premiere of the show. So I was the first person to have played this character. So any other time it's ever done again, our names will be as we were the first people who were the original cast and characters of this play. But anyway, but my point to that is that even with that these large audiences that I've been in front of and laughing and clapping and and standing ovations, it was like this big compared to what that speech and the feeling of the beings after the speech. During, but after, it was like the clapping and the really, really hard to describe. But anyway, so we're pushing 3 hours here. I love you. You're well grounded based, as they say. It gives you more power. And using the word power, tinfoil, I know what you mean, but it is that power of the universe, which is, it's not my power, but it is, but it ain't, but it is, but it ain't. It's that star energy, and it's the clearness and the purity that, quote, is that power. Being young sure was a lot more fun day to day, but nowadays there's also more space, more room for reflection, I guess. Man, it's so cool to be able to connect with people that would seem highly unlikely to find if you searched a long time. I agree with you, Tinfoil. Meeting you folks and you folks meeting me, thumbs up and all of that. And Marie, you being in, down under and so forth, and knowing folks in Canada, and it's just unbelievable. Um, to be able to share this information and like-minded beings, and which is brings up an interesting point. A couple of weeks ago, I had this thing, that we are the league of like-minded beings. And the more I kind of toss this around, and it's sort of an inside joke for me, it's like, yeah, we're the league of like-minded beings. But when I travel out to these other places, and I see these other beings and these other worlds, and then I come back here and have conversation with you, I think, you know we are a consortium of like-minded beings. We are the league of like-minded beings. And it's not just you and me on this planet. There are like-minded beings all over this universe. They might look like crickets. They might look like big giant bears. They might look like Bigfoot. But that's not the point. That in their hearts and the purity within themselves, they are part of this league of like minded beings. We wish peace. Well, we've got our differences, but I mean, I, I don't like Taco Bell, but I like homemade Mexican food. Oh my God, the difference is unbelievable. But if you say, "Ooh, let's go to Taco Bell for Mexican food," I'm going to go, "That ain't Mexican." But I've been able to sit with real Mexican families and have real, honest to God, homemade, home cooked Mexican meals, and it ain't nowhere near. And I've eaten some stuff that was hotter than hell that I never would have dreamed that I would put in my mouth. And it's like, but it didn't give me heartburn. It was hot. It was jalapeno hot. But would if I'd have ate something anywhere near that from a Taco Bell or something, I'd been sick for days. And this other stuff, I went back for thirds. I mean, anyway, but I say that in the respect that, um, no, I don't want to go to Taco Bell, but I might want to go to one of Jupiter's moons. They might have a restaurant there with some kind of grunt egg. I don't know. My point to that is that why have a closed mind? I'm an adventurer. Yeah, I've talked about some of my adventures. But and as old as I am, I'm looking for another adventure. I'm not about to give up and die. I got two kayaks and a canoe. Do you think I'm fixing to give up? Oh hell no. I'm just waiting for the weather to clear a little bit. I'm hitting the river again. And anybody wants to go with me, I got the stuff. You make it to South Georgia, we'll go floating somewhere. Just bring yourself. I probably even got enough food to go with us for whatever. But anyway, I got all the camping gear 20 people need, damn near. But anyway, but it's the adventure of it. So people who want the same thing in every different town, no, I want to go to a different town and see something different. I want to see a cockeyed, crazy, kooky clock in the middle of, I don't know. I want to see a haunted house. I want to see a this. I want to see a mansion. Um, you know, but so with other beings and other planets, I want to go visit them because they're different. Not because they're the same. We all have a core value. I want to go to a place where I know they're not going to skin me and eat me alive. well, maybe did. But of course, that could happen here. But I mean, if somebody's 20 feet tall and I'm a little shrimp to them, I'm going to wear a little beanie hat with a flashing light that says, I'm down here, but I don't want to be scared. I don't want to go, oh my God, they're giants. No, I want to go and say, hey, can I ride on your shoulder? What's it like to be a giant? I've never interviewed a giant before. How much do you eat? What is your caloric intake? I mean, where do you go take a dump? How big is your underwear? Do you have to wear Depends when giants get older? I mean, I know this is crazy stuff, but it's like, but I've never met a giant. So actually, I did way back but when I was in my carny and circus days. But to the point, though, I want to go visit places that are strange and different. I don't want everything to look the same. That's what bores people. So other explorers from other planets who want to land in my backyard, they know they can. And I think they have, but I'm not sure about that. Oh, and speaking of the UFO, my UFO showed up last night again down here in the south. It was early and it was lower in the sky and disappeared early, but it's still showing up. We've had way too many clouds, though, to keep an eye for me to do like a day-to-day check. But last night it was clear enough. My UFO showed up again and really bright but just a few minutes, and then it went like due south and it was really bright, same spot, and then just it went away because I've got my binoculars and I could see it getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, not smaller, just dimmer. Well, it does get smaller too. It's like the intensity is still there, but it's further away. It's hard to describe. It's like, it's kind of weird. But anyway, but with that said, so, I want to get along with other beings, regardless of whether or not they eat monkey brains, and I don't. I don't care, you know, as long as you don't try to eat me and we can, be, fairly, agreeable. But anyway, yeah, indeed. Let's see. Wait. Yeah, okay, to an extent, it's up to me. I'll make sure everything goes as it must. Indeed, you can't hide anymore, even if you thought it was possible before. That's very true, tinfoil. Supervisor, yes. I'd hate to have to lie. I think I could do it, but I don't want to. Yeah, that was my issue about having that soul bomb thing the other day. I really, because I knew it was going to break my own protocol. I knew that I was going to have to hide the truth. I knew, but at the same point, it meant millions and billions of beings, and we all knew that this ambassador had a walk-in and that we had to save the person, the original person, and not the walk-in, because the walk-in was an evil son bitch. And I had to do it. Boy, it was a difficult one. And they're thanking me for what I did. Um, um, Ultraviolet light. Yeah. Hey, thanks. Power to speak to pass along the message. Absolutely. There's more than one galactic council, by the way, Quartz. There's like one for this district and one for this district and one over here. And, it's sort of like the European Union versus the Congress of the United States versus, I don't know, you know, the Mexican cartel. There's just all. But the thing is that the universe is so vast, there has to be more than one. It just is. There are groups and subgroups, but to the point, yeah, there's a galactic council out there, but yes, there's more than one. Yeah, we salute them all with a drinkle of this water to our water brothers and sisters and others. Absolutely, tinfoil. Taco time, Court says, is better than Taco Bell. But then again, homemade Mexican food is better. I don't know who Taco Time is, Quartz, but to the point, you know, I associated, um, Mexican food as Taco Bell because I didn't know any better until I met Mexican people who made these wonderful dishes that had nothing to do with Taco Bell. They don't even go to Taco Bell. But anyway, uh, but yes, to that point, um, I'd like to go on an adventure myself. We need to explore in off-worldly realms. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes, Earth can't be all that there is out there. There is a lot of worlds to explore and their realms. Absolutely. Um, yeah, how about that? There's no escaping the bureaucracy. If you can't beat them, join them, right? Yeah, up to a point. Because it's like when I was in jail, and I know I use this a lot, but I could sit in a cell with 25 guys in a 15-person cell, and with murderers and rapists, and or I could quote play along with their game and be a trustee, and they could quote boss me around. Mop over here, no, go over there and clean up that vomit. Yes sir, boss man. you know I was walking around the jail. I couldn't get out, but I had freedom up and down the aisles. I could talk with people in the different cells. We did a little trading and this and that. So you had to go along, even though I didn't, I lied to them. Are you making whiskey in the stock room? No. No, sir, boss man. Now, where would I get my stuff to make, where would I get the yeast? Well, we got to ask you. No, yeah, I was never David. It was always no. So I was like, all right, no. And I was like, okay, it was weird because they didn't say, Smith or Johnson, but my name was always not David. It was always no. Just as an interesting point. There was John, Big John, and there was Pete, and but it was always no for me. So anyway, but nobody else. If you hollered David, three people might have. If you hollered no, there wasn't but one of me in the jail at the time. So, but anyway, it was easier for me. I didn't kiss anybody's ass, but I played by their rules. So their rules were this. So I said, okay, I'll go. You know, but I never bent over for anybody. I didn't have to dingle anybody or suck anybody or do any of that nasty shit like other guys were doing. I kept my own personal integrity in that respect. But to some of the other prisoners, they would have said, "Well, Dave, I ain't mopping the floor for the man." Well, I wasn't mopping the floor for the man. I was mopping it for all the other 685 prisoners in the jail. The floors are being mopped to keep this place sanitized because there was overpopulation in the prison. So I wasn't working for the man. I was working for myself because I hated being clammed up. And at least I could roam all over a second floor, in the east wing. And then they'd let me out and I could work the stairs and I could hang out in there and smoke a cigarette and, sometimes sneak in and make a phone call. And, oh, but I mopped floors. I worked for the man. I also got exercise. I also got bigger portions when I worked in the kitchen. I had my own filet mignon when everybody else was eating ground beef. I had I had bacon wrapped filet mignon because I worked in the freezer. I knew where it was. And it's like, so while everybody else was like, oh, well, you working for the man. Yeah. And I'm eating butterflied steak filet mignon with, but y'all just go ahead and sit back there. Well, I ain't working for the man. Well, neither am I. I'm working for myself here. I had good food. I had pork chops. Because I worked the stock room in the kitchen. Now people might say, well, but I played the game. I did what they told me. I followed the rules mostly. hedged a little bit, but mostly I was honest. Most of the time, like only when I, only when we was making hooch was the only time I really lied because I knew I wasn't going to. I don't like lying. So in order to be trusted for this high position, I'd keep my own integrity. But at the same time, we all wanted nutmeg and to make some hooch. So we still wanted to get high. But because there were about five of us in the kitchen for about 5 months, and we were a tight knit little team. And the sergeant and the corporal over the kitchen let a few things slide. We were supposed to go up to our bunks at like by 7 o'clock. We could stay down in the kitchen in the stock room and watch TV. It was a little black and white TV, but it was ours. And we could only get three stations, but we could change them. We didn't have to argue with 25 other people to watch a show. We could sit there and play cards. We could sit and have a little hooch or whatever, or we'd had nutmeg and we were having a little bit of a high time playing poker, whatever it was. And then the lieutenant from down over the entire jail would come up and go, no, make me one of them sandwiches you do. Then he'd slip me a few bucks and let me use the telephone. Oh, but I was working for the man. I never did anything wrong other than make sandwiches after hours. But the thing is that I treated them with respect. I followed their rules mostly. So I played the game. I played the political thing, but I still got my own way. I ended up with money out of jail. I ended up with the most prestigious job in the jail. I ended up, so criticize me for working for the man, but I got it out of jail a month early. I got these other things when all these other folks stayed in lockup that whole time, arguing, getting fights, getting, poked in the, getting raped. Horrible. I was in a cell with two other people. We had plenty of room, had our own table, had our own John. We didn't have to worry about fights, but we worked 7 days a week in the kitchen. How do you want to play this? So, in playing with the politics, you can play along, but even within the system, it's better to be in the system and be able to correct things than it is to be outside the system and trying to beat the door to get in. Now, I'm not saying, you should get into jail to fix the system. But after being in jail, I was interviewed by some people at the Tampa Tribune before I left Florida and turned a few of them guards and so forth in at the Hillsborough County Jail because they were getting free meals when the rest of the county had to pay a certain per diem per day to eat lunch in any of the cafeterias, and come to find out that the guards at the Hillsborough County Jail were eating for free. Oh, when the rest of the county couldn't, all the rest of the county employees, there was a big row. But that's how I got back at some of them sons of bitches. I gave my story to the Tampa Tribune and they took it out. I came back to Georgia. I let them guys beat it out amongst themselves. I was long gone. But the thing is that whatever quote revenge there may be, they got it. Some of them got fired. Some of them got, I think some of them may have gotten actual jail time out of it, probably in the same jail, which would have been really interesting. So anyway, um, oh my God, Vice just asked, was Jesus gay? Where did they get that from? You know, that's so strange, that people can come up with. Now, there is a lot of information. Was Jesus a real character? Not sure. But there have been prophets over the many millions of years, literally, but thousands at least. And there have been Christ type figures. And so what if they were gay? So what if he was androgynous? Do you think beings from the other worlds are like all hetero or non or whatever? There's some differences going on. But I think people want to bring up some of this stuff, and it's just like, Man, why is everything got to be gay? I don't know. Everything's gay. I don't know. Anyway, and where did they get that shit from? I agree. Yeah, the system needs help from all directions, including the inside. You did your time and good for you. Thank you, Tinfoil. If Vice was a person, I would slap him in the face for that. 1:14 a.m. here. Yeah, oh God, it's 4:20 here. 4:20, everybody. The system is owing or occupying many plants and worlds, whatever it is. It might seem cruel or harsh, but it's necessary to manage resources. Always, always manage resources. And one of the things in the Bible I've been arguing with for years has been the fact that, when people in the Bible say we have dominion over the earth, I've listened to the Pat Roberts Club and the 700 Club and all that. And those people, I just literally want to put my hands around their throat and go, you got it wrong. That dominion doesn't mean that we can dig 3 mile, pits in the earth and do all this. No, 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 no. To be dominion, we should be caretakers. We should be stewards of this planet, and boy, did they take that crap wrong. But anyway, I agree with you. Tinfoil, I wouldn't criticize you. I don't like the idea of some system. You seem as free as you need to be, which is great. Well, as far as systems go, there's got to be systems. I mean, if when I was growing more vegetables than I am at the moment, but there had to be a system. I had too many vegetables, so I wanted to share them. So the system is I had to get them out of my garden, wash them, clean them, put them in a basket or something so I didn't bruise the fruit, get it, put it in my truck or car or vehicle, get it to wherever it was going. So in that there is a system of things. I was free to alter it and change it, and when I went to town and how much I charge. But there is a system of things. You got to follow a certain, you may call it protocol, but it's just, well, you got to pick it. First, you got to plant it. You got to fertilize. So if you're going to get a squash, there's things you're going to do. And there is a system to it. So we all must follow certain natural systems, if you will, but it doesn't necessarily, and you know me, I don't mean we got to follow like the justice system or the political system or the, you know, educational system, which I think is way off balance now, but there has to be a system of types. I mean, even our solar system is a system of planets rotating. So the system in itself, it's what the system is comprised of and whether or not it's good for us. But I think you understand my point about that. So systems are a natural process, but man-made systems, well, I've worked for, big corporations, and they come up with this big idea, this corporate plan, and they're going to change the system, how they do things within the corporation. Oh my God, we rearranged this. It was 179,000 square feet, and everything in that plant had to be moved at least once in a period of 6 months. We totally, completely, and there were thousands of pieces of machinery. And it was my job to record every piece of machinery and every place that it went to, why it was moved, how it was moved, the date it was moved, and put it into the system. Oh my God, it was nuts. But to the point though, that man-made system was a crock of shit. But natural systems are just that. And so some things can be complicated, some things are oversimplified. We can oversimplify a complicated system much as we can overcomplicate a simple system. I think I got that. Both are true. But anyway, so just wanted to toss that out to you. I'm glad the creator shows as much patience as it has with me and everyone. Tinfoil, I agree with you, and I'm gonna close with this as well because it's been 3.5 hours. and it's been lovely hanging out with you all. God, the difference, in my opinion, between God and Creator. In my realm and with Native Americans, Creator makes all things, but Creator doesn't necessarily destroy all things. But in the Bible, God is a vengeful son of a bitch. God does these things. In my realm, Creator would never destroy his own creations. Now, there are natural storms upon the planet, but Creator, I don't believe, says, I'm going to make a tornado and I'm going to wipe out Hawkeye's house. Instead, if anything, two tornadoes, I mean, literally have been straight over my house. Could feel them sucked out the windows the first time, and I watched my neighbor's barn get destroyed. So yes, my house was saved. Their house was saved, but their barn got torn up twice in 25 years. And so it's like, but did God do that? If he did, he's a vengeful asshole. You know what I'm saying? Justin, how you doing? Wait, Jet, I'm sorry. Glasses time. Jayton. Hello. Jatin is the way I would like to say it. That's how my back of my brain says it. But hello and welcome to you. um, but with the systems and everything that are going on, we have choices in these things. But when people force a system um, upon us, are you asking me? I'm from South Georgia, sort of. At least that's where I'm currently from. Um, the God of the Bible lost to me when I challenged God many years ago. Creator source is more legit. Absolutely, I agree, and that's when I started following my Native American heritage, and I realized that, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, in that every powwow I've been to, they always say a Christian prayer, but they always say a prayer to Creator. And Native Americans understand the difference. Creator made God, period. But God's valid, but Creator is above God. And people say, well, that can't happen. Well, why not? If you look in the Bible, especially in Revelations, there's two different places, and I need to look this up so I can quote the verse in the chapter. But it says that in the heavens with God and the ancients in heaven, you will sit at the right hand of God with the Lord and the ancients. Whoa, hang on. Whoa, wait. You told us about the angels, and you told us about us and Jesus sitting at the right hand. You told us about God, but who are these ancient beings? Whoa. Hang on. I thought they were just angels. Where did the ancients come from? Now, and depending on the Bible version versus the old Catholic version that I used to have versus the different versions of the King James Version, the ancients are called different things depending on the verse. But the thing is that, wait, I thought there was only God and the angels. Where in the creation thing, where did the ancients come from? What? Well, but they've been around with God. Whoa, hang on. If God created them, then if the ancients were as ancient as God, then there's a paradox right there. But God is the ancient one. No, but there are the ancient ones with God. Whoa. Hang on. But now if you believe in the Creator created the gods, the ancients, the thing, but there is that quote, if you will, the supreme source. let's forget about who's God or demigod or whatever, Atlas, um, Mount Olympus. Who cares? There are a lot of different kinds of gods, archangels, and spiritual demigods or whatever, and good and evil. So, but if you believe in the Creator, in my opinion, it catches it all, and it kind of keeps it out of religion in a way. Um, you're from India. Well, blessings to you in India. uh, Yogananda was great, but I don't understand yoga. When the angels fall, shadows on the wall. When the thunder calls, something haunts us all. When the angels fall, I believe that too. Where there's the elders, even older than the ancients. That's what we were told from the book, right? I cannot speak an Indian language. Um, Although I have studied it and uh, I've got several I've studied traditions in India. I've got all three copies or the three books of the Bhagavad Gita. I've also got one of the a couple of the books of the Hindu, and but as far as I can speak it, no, I'm sorry, I cannot. I'm horrible with foreign languages. As much as I come. Dear Your Country. Now, I've tried to learn Cherokee, and for whatever has happened to my brain, I have issues with learning foreign languages. I mean, I can pick up phrases and things, and I've tried to study Spanish, and I'm not too bad at Spanish. I can understand it better than I can speak it. Um, but at certain things in German and so forth. But as far as being able to actually learn a foreign language, I am the wrong person when it comes to that. But I love people who do. I still try at my age of 66. I mean, I literally want to try to learn Russian, you know, because somebody, well, why? I don't know. I'd like to be able to understand what Putin says without an interpreter. Just saying, you love God. I love the Creator. Depends on the God, but that's my point. As long as we believe in the true Creator, depending on the gods, it really doesn't matter. If we keep our core value, believe in compassion, believe in the one true rule, do no harm to any being. That's what's important. When we can have discussion and arguments between each other without having fisticuffs or wanting to kill each other, and when we can just set our differences aside and agree that we all are true living angel beings, God beings, higher beings inside, and that we are all universally a part of the universe and a part of the quantum. It doesn't matter if we're from India or Japan or from China or from Alabama or from Georgia or New York City. It doesn't matter. What matters is the kindness in our heart and the purity in our hearts. So everything else pales in comparison. So, my lovelies, my friends, um, yeah, I can't speak that. Australia, was it? Wow, summer, right? Marie, Jatine, tinfoil, quartz. Uh, did I miss somebody? Tinfoil, got you, Marie, and I don't know if anybody else is in. I want to say to all of you and Jatine, thank you very much for hanging out. Those were more lyrics. Can angels fall? They surely can. It's 8:34. It's 4:34 here. So anyway, and one thing too that had just that keeps coming up, and I just want to put this in your head. I've come across some more information that's kind of solidifies. Understand this. What if the fallen angels didn't fall from the grace of God, but they fell in battle protecting us? And that those fallen angels are like fallen soldiers during a war, those fallen heroes. We don't say, we say that the term is those fallen heroes from World War One that died in the trenches. And you would say, well, but okay, but they fell in duty. Did they fall from the grace of God? So the question has come around to me several times, and not necessarily Lucifer, but the idea of the fallen angels. Did they fall from grace, or did they fall because of the war in heaven and with the angels? I gotta ask that question to myself and go, I don't know. They've dadgum lied to us so much about the darn in the Bible about certain things that yes, there was a war in heaven, and yes, it was good and evil, and yet, but were the angels that fell? Did they fall in battle? Working for they fell for fighting for the good side, but they fell to earth because they were wounded. They lost their wings in the battle for the good, and that a third of the angels in heaven, and that Lucifer could have been that archangel who was leading him. Now, there is a bad guy named Lucifer, and not necessarily, but to the point of this, though, where those third of the angels lost in battle trying to save us from whatever demons and dark sides, or did they fall from grace? Just want to throw that out there and put that in your little pumpkin heads to consider, because what I'm getting is the latter is true. They fell in battle protecting the goodness on this planet against the evil. Not, I didn't say Lucifer. I said those fallen angels died protecting us or to protect the good. Just consider it. My friends, my lovelies, my dearest, my cohorts, my fellow persons of in the league of like-minded beings, I leave you with this prayer as always. I continue to pray that each one of you will accept and receive the blessings from the universe, that you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to receive and accept the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. I continue to pray that each one of you, threes, remember that. I continue to pray that each one of you will continue to accept and receive these blessings, the wisdom, and all of the relations, and that you will continue to pass along in your own way, in your good way, the compassion and the love that is of this universe. You all are wonderful people. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you always for hanging out. Tinfoil, good to see you back. Marie, as always, good to see you. Jatine, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. What I've learned over the years, that's how it sounds in my head. I mean that with the utmost of respect. Quartz, receiving these blessings, thank you. Tinfoil, their service is appreciated. They know who they are. All of us join hands. Cosmic hug, everybody. From South Georgia, this is Hawkeye Two Feathers, your friend and fellow traveler in time, space, and in the continuum, saying TTFN. Ta ta for now, my wonderful friends. Until next time, be safe. Have a great weekend.